mantra, and then calendar, how to make this all work for you and master your calendar. I work with small groups of women, I work with individuals, I work with organizations, and I'm really excited to be here.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Adrienne. I'm excited to learn more about sleep. I think we all need to learn a little bit more about that, especially where we are right now. Marie, hello. Welcome.
Good morning. Good morning. My name is Marie Zitomo Quintanilla, but you can call me Marie ZQ. It's too long. I am originally from West Africa, but I live in LA now. I'm an author, a professional speaker. I'm also a speaker for American Cancer Society for 13 years and an ambassador for them. I'm a cancer survivor. And I have a company called C Coaching here in LA, and we help individuals and businesses grow through business consulting.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much, Marie. And thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Molly, hi.
Hi, everyone. I'm Molly Campbell. I am a keynote speaker about domestic abuse. I am a survivor of a domestic abuse marriage and left 4 years ago. I've turned my lived experience into public speaking. I'm also a 30-year veteran of working in human resources. And I talk about the intersection of domestic abuse and the workplace and how employers can help with my mission to destigmatize domestic abuse, inform their employees about the different kinds of abuse, the resources that are available in the community, and to advocate for their employees. Thank you. Glad to be here.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Molly, for being here, and to all survivors speaking today. We honor you and congratulate you of coming this far. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Yes, Amy.
Hi, my name is Amy. I own Hidden Consumers Consulting. What I do is I work in the natural and organics industry to help create a marketing strategy and implement a plan that actually brings people to their companies that need the services they provide. I'm here because as a woman, I've struggled in the medical world to get diagnoses. My health was directly related to food, and I went undiagnosed for 40 years. So that's a lot about what I do in the natural and organics, is teach them about what's really in our food and why natural and organics is what people are looking for, but they can't find them. So
Thank you so much for being here, Amy. Elle, or Ellie.
Hi. Yes, it's Elle. I get Ellie all the time too.
Okay.
I'm Elle. I am a happiness expert, an author, and now researcher, doing my own research now for positive psychology, really passionate about infant mental health. Yes, it's a thing, and mental health with women. So thrilled to be on this panel today.
Great. Thank you, Elle. Thank you, everyone, for being here today. I'm excited to learn from all of you as we get started, learning from your experiences and expertise, as you've accomplished a great deal. And we will get started with our first question of the day. Is what are the most pressing health challenges women face, and how can we better address them across all stages of life? Let us sit with that just for a moment, collect our thoughts, and I will call on the first speaker to speak. Let's go with LaShasta. Unmute yourself, please. Sorry.
Have to remember that. I would absolutely say sleep. That is the most pressing, because it's also the foundation of 7 of the 15 chronic diseases are tied to sleep deprivation. Women in the U.S., health disease is the number 1, and it's tied to lack of sleep. And we are in this whole hustle grind culture that tells us we have to work. We have to do all the things, especially as women. And sleep is gone. Like, a lot of women are saying, oh, I'm fine on 5 hours. I'm fine on 4 hours. And they're absolutely not. And until they're willing to embrace the fact that they have to go to bed, then all of the challenges will continue to be pressing no matter what they are until they go to sleep. But once again, no one's death report says sleep deprivation.
Wow, wow, wow. That is really important to understand that. Thank you so much, Lasashta, for explaining that. Sleep is definitely something very important, and I know myself, I'm very guilty of losing the sleep. It looks like Adrian, did you want to chime in? Yes.
I'd love to tag team with the Shasta. I'm glad you're here. I'm sure it's really hard being out there. I'm a Californian. I'm kind of choked up about it from Southern California. Watching all you're going through right now is really, it has to be really hard. So thanks for being here. I'm going to tag team because of my wellness wheel, because I believe that our health challenges are a confluence of a few strategies that women are stuck in a mindset. And we are stuck partly in a mindset of productivity. More is better, and less sleep goes with that. We're stuck in a mindset, well, let's talk about food, about deprivation dieting. Less is better. And so I believe it's all five of my wheel. I really do. It is the biggest challenge we have. We're not eating enough. We're not sleeping enough. We're not strength training enough because we are caught up, particularly midlife women. Midlife women are still stuck in their 20s and 30s mentality that you have to have high intensity cardio. You have to have a pool of sweat on the floor underneath you. And frankly, that's exactly the opposite of what we need in midlife. I think that we also need to figure out a way to hone in on our stress. Stress resilience is part of my practice, and it goes hand in hand with LaShasta's expertise in sleep. They go together. When your stress resilience practices, you have your good tool set, then your sleep is better, and the opposite applies. And when we don't make time for any of these things, I'm saying 2 to 5 to 7 minutes per day on all five of my spokes, then that's what happens with our health. And that's where we see a lot of the challenges with our health system right now. I really believe it's all five of them.
Wow, thank you. Thank you, Adrian. Miriam, want to jump in?
Absolutely. I think that this is such a critical conversation, especially around stress and sleep with women's health. And as a functional medicine dietitian, I'm always looking at what's the root cause, like why are women experiencing illness and imbalance? And when we look at the leading causes of health issues globally, and especially in the US, of women's mortality, we suffer disproportionately from cardiovascular disease, which is often honestly associated more with men, like collectively, that's what we think about, but so many women suffer from cardiovascular disease, autoimmune conditions, mental health issues. And when we really look at what are the root causes of this, I think that this extreme like stress and pressure that women do hold, right? We have, we absorb more caregiving responsibilities and stress for our families, whether that's infant care or elder care. And now, you know, with this tremendous amount of stress in like the workforce. And so I think that it comes down to educating women about our bodies. I think that that's another really important piece of this conversation. I know that I have gone through extensive medical training, and learning about my menstrual cycle and learning about my bodies was never anything that I learned about in school. And it was really beyond that I had to really educate myself. So I think educating women about their needs as they change throughout their lives, like what are the pressing needs as they get older with weight training and, you know, resistance training and building bone density and cardiovascular health, and how to eat to really nourish themselves. I think all of these pieces are really important in the conversation of supporting women, women's health and longevity, not in just preventing these diseases, but also helping them feel really vibrant and present in their lives.
Thank you so much, Miriam, for sharing that. And I think those are really important points that we have to recognize, especially the education about ourselves. I really do believe that we are so much in the dark, and especially when we're discussing about caregiving and stress management. As a millennial in what's called the sandwich generation, you know, my generation is taking care of kids, but also taking care of their parents. So how can we cope and stress with that? And I like what our speakers have said so far about stress management and resilience.
Mhm.
And speaking of resilience, as someone who is very familiar with positive psychology myself, I want to call on Elle to speak a little bit about more to that, if you have anything to add from the positive psychology perspective.
Absolutely. I think one of the most pressing issues, in addition to sleep, is that the mind and body connection. When we talk about mental health and mental resilience, it's about doing the thoughts, actions, and behaviors that set us up for when we have those traumatic events. So focusing on a gratitude mindset and journaling and these easy interventions that are unknown to so many, that are groundbreaking research that's showing what a gratitude practice can do, and setting ourselves up to combat the stress that we have. But this stress gets in our body, creates autoimmune diseases and other sort of issues that we need to talk about. I think it's a complete, crisis in what we have. And in addition to isolation, what phones are doing to us and our relationships and our mental health is quite scary for me.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing that, Elle. Miriam, you have your hand up as well. Oh, you didn't want to. Okay, that is fine. But thank you. Oh, Shasta, go ahead.
I was just going to say that I agree with Adrian. She dropped some in the chat, and I often say this as a speaker when I poll the room about sleep deprivation, when I poll the room about the chronic diseases, and I ask them, how many of you, your doctors prescribe sleep? And literally there's one or two people that may raise their hand. And so I agree with what everyone is saying about the awareness. But as women, we have to first be willing to boost our emotional intelligence. Like, we have to want to be more self-aware, because our body tells us what it needs. Our mind tells us what it needs, but we will dismiss it. We will ignore it. We will say it can wait until later. So we can put out all the resources and all the information, but until each woman is ready to have autonomy of their mental wellness, of their physical health, then it's just information. I mean, we have AI. You can literally use a voice memo. You don't have to type, and say, hey, I'm not sleeping. What are some things that I can do to go to bed? And the information is there. So we have more information readily available and easily accessible than I think any time ever. But as women, we're going to have to choose to put ourselves on our list first, instead of not finding ourselves on our list at all.
Wow. Yes, Adrian, go ahead.
I just wanted to briefly say what I said in the chat was that women tend to rely on that annual visit with their OBGYN for everything. And we have to just give them, let's just say they don't know everything. They weren't taught in medical school about sleep. They most certainly, in my world, in strength conditioning and in exercise and in food, they weren't taught. They had 5 hours total of both in their entire medical school career. They received 5 hours of education on exercise and diet. So we need to do our own work and then not rely solely on that one appointment per year.
Oh my goodness. Yes, Miriam.
I also think it comes to the medical system. I think it really is important for the patient autonomy and advocacy. I think we are our own best advocates, and we need to communicate with our providers what's going on. But I think the way that our medical system and our doctors and our providers are trained are not to get at those root causes, or not to look at nutrition or sleep or exercise. And it's unfortunate, but my experience has been providers are really uninterested. Like, I've had a patient with endometriosis who ended up in the ER, and her only options were surgery or a medication that was going to put her into an early menopause, and with all these side effects. And that's when she came to me, and we reversed these issues. Her doctor wasn't interested in hearing how she did it. And we were able to do it without surgery, without medication. And so I think that there's a re-education and a re-conversation that's needed in terms of providers and healthcare, because Because when that happens, a lot less patients are going to get gaslit as well. Because I've been personally gaslit by countless providers. I am also a breast cancer survivor, and I was told that I didn't have breast cancer when I found my own breast cancer, and so I think there's a real need for these conversations and normalizing these conversations with providers, even if they don't have the answers, knowing that there are people that do and that they can refer out.
Oh, thank you so much, Miriam. Before we go on to the next question, I want to call on Molly. I want to call on Molly as she placed something in the chat. Would you like to briefly mention?
Well, sure. It's what other on the panel are saying the same thing, that doctors are not asking about nutrition when assessing our symptoms. So others have mentioned that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. Marie, please jump in.
Yeah, I really agree with everything that everybody's saying right now. One of the things as an ambassador for American Cancer Society is that we promote right now, as we all know, 60% of women are not getting screened for cancer. And the rates are so high. Not only that, but it's so important, even when you don't have cancer, we promote the fact that even drinking a glass of wine every day can affect, or especially when you're stressed and you're drinking and we do have to give each other praise. The fact that we carry so much, we're running businesses, we're taking the kids to school, we're taking care of the home. We do so much. So naturally, of course, we're going to be a little stressed, right? But when we add like the bad diet and drinking whenever we can, in my case, wine, all those things, and not exercising, all those things really end up it puts us in a bad situation. So with that being said, I truly agree with everything that everybody is saying here. And I guess as women everywhere, we just have to put self-care first, because when we truly take care of ourselves, not only that we have less stress, but we also, we don't have to go through going through diseases and all these things. So I truly agree with everybody on here.
Yes, absolutely. I concur as well. Thank you all so very much, which really brings to the point, as some of you, or a lot of you mentioned, about our healthcare system, which poses quite a bit of challenge as well. As this question states, like, how can healthcare system meet the specific health needs of women, particularly in underserved areas? As we were talking about it in a generalized area, but in underserved areas of marginalized communities, how can the healthcare systems meet those specific needs? So I will call on, LaShasta, did you have your hand up? Oh, that is fine. Amy, how about you?
I think this goes back to the conversation we were just having, but the main factor is doctors don't care. They're not asking, if you come in with an issue, they're just going to be like, well, you're just tired. They're just going to push you off the side. It took me 4 years to get a diagnosis for complex regional pain syndrome because the doctors didn't want to listen to me. They were ignoring what I had to say. In the underserved areas, the research is even more like can you even get into a clinic? Can you even find a doctor that's not only you can get to, are they going to listen to you? And at the end of the day, we have a healthcare system that's really set up to ignore women and their needs. And I think that's the bottom line.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. Elle, then LaShasta, then Adrian.
The system is broken and it's set up and it's harmful to women. I mean, do we have the rights? And even doctors who want to help, the system and policies they're in, even I think of access to legal abortions for safe access for women and freedom of choice. But doctors are put in this wheel that they no longer have control of what they're able to do with their time. So I think of underserved women. How do they have access to the provider? How do they have access to the information? Here in my community, I can't find an OBGYN. There is no provider that is taking new clients. And so if you can't get access and insurance and the cost and the relationships and how do women, especially underserved communities, advocate for themselves when It's just so easy for doctors to write a prescription without, as Miriam's work. I've worked with someone similar to you who changed my life when 3 doctors gave me an antidepressant when I said, I'm fatigued, I'm not sleeping. There's a difference between fatigue and depression, and those mental health components are really important, but they're not listened to. So I'm preaching to the choir over here, as we're very aligned with this. But I think what we have to do is engage with our nonprofit organizations. We need to advocate. We need to vote and put people in positions of power who have women's best interests at heart.
Thank you so much for that. Jackie will be next after LaShasta and Adrian. Please jump in, LaShasta.
Yeah, so honestly, I think that the healthcare systems are not coming to save us. Recently, Lovey Ajayi Jones said that community is a verb, and I believe that wholeheartedly. So until we work as a community, and coming from a life where I lived as in an underserved area, growing up in poverty, and understanding now the difference of the care that we were given as children and in our teens, and even now, being able to advocate and know the questions to ask is the difference. And I believe that we have to share that amongst ourselves, because yes, the system is broken. It's going to be broken for probably the rest of our lifetime and part of our kids' lifetime. But as a mom who decided to be a mom again at 42, I had different questions than from 24. And the way I had different questions was about being in community and having conversations to know. There was no doctor that taught me to go into the doctor's office and say, what is the homeopathic method for that? Because you went to school and they taught you more than one way to solve that problem. And until you know to ask the question, they're not going to access that information. Or to know that as a Black woman, I'm going to be treated differently. My pain level and my pain tolerance is not going to be honored the way it will my counterpart. So at 42, I was smart enough to say, let me put people around me that either look like me or are allies to me. So when I'm in pain and I cannot advocate for myself, they can. And I can tell you, it saved my life, because after my pregnancy was fine, everything was great, but the day after I went home, within 24 hours, I was back in the hospital. But with postpartum preeclampsia, which no one really talks about or know about. But the reason why I is because my doula looked like me. My OBYN looked like me, which she was the only one in the Austin area, and that was accepting new clients, to your point, Elle. And then the one that was on call, same thing. And she took an hour and a half looking at one number in my blood results. And she told me, had I not started to research on my own, because they didn't teach her this, I would have let you go home and you probably would have come back and been admitted into the ICU. It's important to have community, to have the conversations, and then to know how to show up in that space and advocate for yourself, because the system is not going to save us. And it's not going to be fixed anytime soon.
Thank you so much, LaShasta. I resonate so much with what you said for that. I'm going to also go to Adrian as well. I know that a lot of us have a lot to say on this. So I'm going to keep this conversation going, because I believe that this is really important. Adrian, go ahead.
Yes, women were not required to be in medical studies until 2016, women-only studies. So our healthcare system, we're all repeating each other. We all should be in a group hug right now. We are all agreeing. The system is set up for men, and the machines, all the diagnostic equipment is set up for men. So it has to start at the medical school. I really and truly believe this. I think at the medical school is where it needs to start, and I don't know how that happens. I am not an expert in how the medical schools change. It has to do with their donor. You all may be much smarter than me on that. And I do believe, because I work with midlife women, and LaShasta, you were talking about you wanted to be with someone who looked like you, who was around your age. Black women suffer more from perimenopause and menopause than I do. And we know this, but how many doctors know that? And so when it comes to working with women in perimenopause and menopause, I really challenge my clients and the companies that I work with to help women find somebody different who actually knows what they're talking about and has maybe even experienced like we have, And I do think in the underserved communities, look at how many women are going through perimenopause and menopause, and they don't even know what it is. A lot of times they're going to be given an antidepressant and sent home because they're stressed. Well, yes, they're stressed because their estrogen is, or their progesterone is on a roller coaster ride. And I just think, bottom line is, I think it has to start with the schools. I would love to teach about menopause in grade school, because they're teaching them about, they're teaching them the birds and the bees, but they're not teaching them about what happens next.
Yes.
There's not a lot of research on that. So.
Oh my goodness, absolutely. I'm seeing a lot of hands go up. I'm going to call on. I love it. And even Amy said in the chat, we do not have healthcare, we have sick care. And we do need to find ways to reimagine what our healthcare system looks like. Jackie, what are your thoughts?
Well, I wanted to say that LaShasta said a couple of things that really hit my heart. Number one, community is a verb. And second, the healthcare system is not coming to save us. And what I thought about when you asked this question is, it's frustrating because I don't have an answer. I don't have an answer to the fix because I'm not sure how we do it. And that makes us feel really hopeless. And that puts us in this space of victimhood, and we don't deserve to be in that. So what are ways that we can empower each other in the meantime? I also have a story of not being heard. Adrienne mentioned the healthcare system being set up for men. I want to be really specific. It's set up for cis, white, hetero men. That's who it's set up for. And when we think about people who are underserved, I'm a Latina. I'm technically in that category. And when I went to a doctor 17 years ago with such ridiculous panic, paranoia, depression, CPTSD, I was told by a white woman to take vitamins. Even though my psychologist said, you need medication. It got to a point where I wasn't put on medication until I was in a hospital because my panic had me in such a way that I passed out in the shower and hit my head. This is uncalled for. We're not being listened to. So how can we create spaces that are safe and create funding outside of the healthcare system? Because those 2 minutes at a time, I'm generalizing, I don't know the number, but the 2 minutes of care you get are not going to cut it. But it is professionals like the women in this room who are going to take the time to help. So how to create that? And as a business owner, we can look at things like sliding scales, or we can look at scholarship opportunities where we have clients who have the funds to be able to pay and pay maybe a higher amount so that the next person can get the help they need no matter what.
Yes, absolutely. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much. We have a lot. Miriam, we're going to have to move on to the next question as it is very much connected to what we are discussing. So definitely Miriam and then Marie and then on to the next question. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think this conversation is so powerful, especially when it comes to serving underserved areas. And unfortunately, I think in the US, healthcare is a privilege. It's not a right. And when we look at the leading causes of bankruptcy in the US, 60-something% of that is actually because of medical debt. And when it comes to accessing like good care is expensive, and I can pick up my prescriptions at my pharmacy for free, but supplements that actually help to get at like the root cause of those nutritional imbalances, that is so pricey. And so I really have to echo what Jackie was saying about this need for scholarships, about this need for a sliding scale, and then also community support and community education and sharing like how to eat, right? There are a lot of individualized ways that we can customize, our diets and how to nourish ourselves and getting really at those root causes. But also at the same time, there are ways that we all universally can think about food and nourishing ourselves that we can hold in community settings. And so I think conversations like this are really where it starts to begin shifting that, because the system, the insurance system is really such a frustrating thing for so many people to navigate, plus that barrier that we've been talking about doctors and how they're valuing like holistic care. So I thank you so much. This is really important.
Thank you. Thank you. Marie, go ahead. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Yes. And, I wanted to say something about what Jackie just said, because last year in January, I went to the summit that we had for American Cancer Society, and the numbers for African Americans, Blacks, and Hispanics was so low because we're not getting screened for cancer. And the studies are not being done for Black women and Latinas. So I truly agree that we need to do better. The underserved areas, I think we should have clinics available for them to get screened for cancer or for any diseases or for any health issues. They're not being screened early because they don't have the insurance or they don't have the resources. So, or it's not being promoted. If you look at media, when they promote health, there's Caucasians, you don't see Blacks, you don't see Latinas. So it's not really being enforced in the lower community, and we just need to do better. We need to have resources, we need to have education, just awareness that we need to do better.
Yeah, I concur with that as well. And as we're talking about our healthcare systems, as we're heading towards our end, unfortunately, this is great conversation. But as we are talking in the midst of a tech panel, we are wondering, let's see if the slide can talk. Okay. How can technology and innovation help to improve all women's access to health services? We talked about the systems piece as a whole. How can we bring technology to help support us in this? Okay. Elle and then Amy.
On one side of the coin, the technology is incredible. If we can diagnose earlier breast cancer and other sort of interventions for earlier diagnosis and better testing, more virtual options for accessibility and reduction of cost, technology can transform healthcare for women. But yet also technology can hurt because there's false information out there where we're obtaining the information from our tech. And I will again say the technology has been directly correlated with the mental health issues of women and our next generation. I have an 8-year-old girl, and technology and social media is harming our young women. And we need, as a community, to stand up and say, we're not going to allow these companies to financially benefit from the reduction of mental health of our youth. And so, I'm like, I see a lot of nods, like pulling on strings here. So I'll let you go with that.
Thank you so much. And Amy, please do jump in.
I'm going to say just really quickly, I think the flip side of technology is it's where I find my communities of people. I got diagnosed with a rare allergy. I go to my community. We understand each other. We have advice. We're like, or we just sympathize with each other because we're like, yeah, that just sucks. But it's our communities. But again, it's a privilege to have the technology available. Not everybody has that access. So how do we take technology and make it available to everyone so everyone has that ability to grow and find the support they need?
Yes, absolutely. Where do we find that balance? How can we find that balance? Absolutely. LaShasta, please.
So I hear what Elle says, and as a licensed professional counselor, I've seen it firsthand. But to Amy's point, there is more good that can come of technology than not, because when we talk about kids and technology, that's a parental problem. Like that's a parent space of how you allow your child to have access to it, and when they go to school, what that looks like, etc. But big picture, I use an app to monitor my sleep called Sleep Cycle. Did it for years, even before I knew that the sleep strategist was going to bloom in me. You know, I use it. I have an app that I do my devotion and my breathing with that helps with my mental health. I have another app that allows for learning mindfulness and practicing mindfulness. So and all of these are free versions, except my sleep one, I upgraded, but they're all free versions. And most people have a smartphone these days that can download apps. So that's how we use the technology and innovation on an individual level and a community level, as well as AI. Like, absolutely, you can go there and get information. I like to use Gemini because it pulls from all of Google. And Google is a solid search engine. And no, you can't believe everything that you Google with your symptoms, but you can ask it, what questions should I ask my provider when I have these symptoms? So once again, the technology can be great and beneficial depending on what we put into it. Now, if you say I have all of these symptoms, what's my diagnosis? That's different, right? Versus what do I ask the medical professional when I go in to speak with them? So I think utilizing the apps is a great way to go, and finding your community online as well. Amy, I 110% agree with that.
Thank you. So, Molly, please.
Yes, I've been silent for a little while, just listening, because my area of expertise is in domestic violence and domestic abuse. And one of the things that I see happening with the healthcare is the stigma of being a victim of domestic violence or domestic abuse. How can technology help that? I see that there are a lot of communities that can help women, because that's the majority of the people that are victims. Like Elle said, having communities where they can share their experience or be part of a group. But the healthcare system is not, just like not asking about nutrition or sleep. They're not schooled or educated to ask about what's going on in the home, what's going on with your intimate partner, because it's hidden. There's a stigma. There's still a stigma about talking about it. So I want to use technology to help eradicate that stigma and bring domestic abuse out of the shadows.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that, Molly. Unfortunately, we're at time, so I will call on Jackie for her last words and ask the question overall: how do we overcome the stigma that we face in this healthcare system?
Ooh,
Jackie.
okay. That's a big question. First and foremost, women experience psychological patriarchy. So simply by what we experience from the patriarchy makes us twice as likely to experience depression and anxiety. I chair the Global Wellness Institute's Diversity, Equity, Inclusion Initiative, and part of our research is video interviews. And we ask, if you were to prioritize mental wellness, physical wellness, or financial wellness, if you had to just choose one, what would it be? And 83% of the participants said mental wellness, and 98% of the participants are women at this point. Yet we put it on the back burner, and we won't be able to make any of these choices to support our health unless we recognize that we need to be a priority. That time is not the problem. That we have been molded and conditioned to believe that we come last. So how do we put ourselves first? And that's the kind of empowerment that we need.
Oh my goodness, Jackie, thank you so much. What powerful words. And what a powerful panel that we have here today. We had such passion and such advocacy surrounding this topic on how can we overcome these challenges of our health, women's health especially. So if there are any last words, final words. Yes, Marie. Unmute yourself.
Yeah, what I would say is, as women, together we are so strong. Together we can do so much. So let's get together as women and make a movement toward uplifting each other, supporting each other in every area, in the business world, in health, in every area, especially in health, where maybe reaching out, reminding a friend, have you gotten screened this year? Did you do your yearly check-in? So together we're much more stronger. Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you all so very much. And yes, I agree with Jackie. Let us use technology to use our voices as we are doing here today and minimize this and to erase that stigma. Thank you all so very much for being here today. I am so grateful to be on this panel, to be moderating this panel. This gives me so much hope, and I have so much gratitude. So now we are at time. Thank you all so much for joining us. And please, for those of you who are watching, connect with these wonderful and powerful women and their social media handles, or however you feel comfortable connecting. And once again, let us all continue the conversation moving forward as this concludes our roundtable panel discussion. May our gather be well, and until next time, back to you, GatherVerse production team.
Thank you, ladies.
Welcome, family. Welcome. We are delighted to have you here today. Welcome to GatherVerse SHE Summit Fireside Chat, Her Place in STEM. My name is Devonna May. I am an attorney, a brand strategist, and the creator of It Girl GPT. And today I am honored to share this space and this chat with Miss Cinnamon White, the CEO of Tech Now and the founder of We Tech. Cinnamon, thank you so much for joining us. How are you today?
Hi, everyone. Hi, Devonna. Thank you. I'm doing great. Excited to be here.
Wonderful to have you here today. Thank you so much. So I know from taking a look at your profile and getting more acquainted with the work that you do, that you are passionate and that you are dedicated to making technology accessible for all, especially when it comes to closing the gap, the gender gap in STEM. So if you would, just take a few minutes to introduce yourself to our audience and tell us a little bit about what inspired you to pursue a career in STEM.
Well, it's been some time, so let me think about that one. I am what everyone will call these days as an advocate for women in STEM, particularly Black women. I consider us not to just be consumers, but creators, innovators, and disruptors. We're building a future, and AI understands our health needs to work with our apps, connect our communities, and overall close the gender gap in STEM fields, one code at a time, one startup at a time, one leadership role at a time. We can't build this world without us. We are women. From that perspective, I operate from, and it's been as long as I can remember.
Yeah, and before we actually jump into the formal questions, I do want to learn a little bit more about, you've been in this field for quite a while. You've dedicated your life and your professional endeavors to creating opportunities for Black women in STEM and using technology to tell us a little bit about some of the ways that your work has impacted your community and some of the ways that you feel that you've actually seen change happen within the field.
Well, that's probably one of my favorite places to be is quote unquote in the field, working directly with our youth. They are what give me the air to breathe. You're the reason, all of you are the reason that I continue to keep pushing. I think it started back as far as a turnaround, back with Girls Who Code, and then with Black Girls Who Code. And we starting to work with them and our girls in our community all the way out in throughout the globe. So I would say that would be one of the biggest impacts that I aligned with in the beginning, and then it stemmed beyond that as well. Locally.
And that's an amazing organization, and I think we all should kind of be responsible for creating the spaces, creating the organizations, and bringing together the people who have the technical skills, the heart, the just the ability to, I always like to liken us. We're all on the same team. We're all trying to create impact and enrichment and opportunity for our people, for who are usually underserved communities, and we all have a job to do. And there should be so much pride in the diversity of the responsibilities that we share. And someone may simply be responsible for opening a door for someone else. Someone may be responsible for giving someone resources or network or whatever it is you can do. I'm just so grateful to have this space where we're gathering to collect our insights, and we're gathering our human connection and our human network, so we're able to continue the work that needs to be done to break barriers and create opportunities for us, especially in the spaces of STEM and STEAM. Speaking of breaking barriers and speaking of challenges, tell me about some of the systemic changes that you believe are needed to create pathways for women to excel and to lead in the space of STEM.
Good question. I would look at what you started off with as far as breaking barriers, and something I mentioned as far as one of the first organizations out there looking at directly of making effectual impact for women. And I mentioned Girls Who Code and Black Girls Who Code. So the early exposure would be a very key necessary step. Directly dismantling the biases as far as our corporations, such as our FANG companies, Microsoft, Google, making not just lip service, but making direct action, direct initiatives in order to make a safe space, an inclusive space, an equitable space for women, especially Black women. Mentorship, definitely have to have it, have to see it to be it. We have to turn around and give back. We have to show them. We have to continue to pave the pathway. And let's see. I'll stop at those three.
No, that's actually wonderful, and I love what you say about early exposure and representation and mentorship and giving people direct access to opportunities to interact with the field within the field. I remember, growing up in a community where there were no real examples of what success looked like outside of a small, very marginalized space. And when I got to college, my professor, she was a young Black woman. She had just graduated law. She had graduated law school. She was my English professor, and I was just in awe of not only the fact that she was a young Black beautiful woman, but that she was so educated, and that I had never seen anyone in that space, a Black attorney, a Black female attorney, just never saw it before. And then when she told me at the end of the semester that she saw it within me, that I could be an attorney as well, I literally took her word and I based my entire educational trajectory on that. So it is so important to have representation and to have support systems and to have education. So speaking of education, tell me a little bit about what you think our organizations, our schools, even in the professional space, what can we do to better support women to achieve careers in STEM? You know, what can we do to help them to get on that pathway?
Well, that's a big one, and we could literally repeat what we started with as far as the early exposure and the representation. I think we have a lot of organizations that are taking steps in that very direction as far as getting the necessary education and skills out there to and focusing directly on our primarily underserved communities. You have let's see, Tech Equity Collective, Brilliant Black Minds. There's quite a few, and I'm missing them right now.
I'm taking notes. If
you follow me on LinkedIn, I'll put a list up there. There's several organizations out there right now that are working directly with local to global to make sure Tri-Baha. They could go on forever, but these organizations have been put in place, are receiving the funding to implement just what you were speaking of, as far as getting the education and the skill set, not just teaching them how to code, but also taking them through the process of the hiring process, starting their career, what it is to interview, what exactly those questions that are being asked from our FANG companies. And I understand there's a coding test involved, so you can't just fluff your way through, and you have to know what you're talking about, what you're doing. And it's such an exciting industry as far as I'm concerned, as technology stemming from STEAM education, if you will. It aligns perfectly with every industry. It takes that, it's sort of that industry on steroids, if you will. And it just really allows those throughout medicine and law to truly enhance what they already know and to truly be able to share it with us to create a better and build a better place to live.
Yeah. And as we are winding down on time, I think the final question that I want to ask is, what impact do you want to make personally as a visionary, as a contributor and a creator to the STEAM space? What is your ultimate idea of impact or improvement in that space? What is your personal goal for achievement?
You know, I actually had to think about that just a few weeks ago as we start the vision board for 2025. But I think I'm maintaining my stance here. It has to be a radical change. It can't be incremental. We have to take the bull by the horns, if you will, and make a radical change as far as inclusion, commitment, investment. And I think we all know what they are. I think we've all created the wireframe along with the budget, along with the software development lifecycle. And I think we can all put it together and we do it. We have to do it.
Yeah. And I appreciate that, because I feel that we do have the resources, we have the ability, we have the knowledge, the wisdom, and we have the allies to create any change that we want to see. And it's just a matter of doing it and doing it the right way, you know. And then I think that we're always learning better, and there's always ways to improve and all of the things, but having these conversations and really knowing that you do have everything you need to start with, and you can do a lot with what you have at your hands and what's in your heart and what's in your mind. I appreciate that. And I also love the let's just get radical. Let's just get into it. Let's just wield the hammer and make some impact. So Cinnamon, thank you so much. Thank you, Cinnamon, for joining us today. And as we close this session, I do again want to thank you, Cinnamon. I want to thank the audience for your valuable time and your attention. And I do hope we take this time to create new allyships, new partnerships, and collaborations in the direction of bringing more impact, diversity, inclusion to women in business. Thank you, GatherVerse, and our Gather was well. Have a great day.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Hello, greetings, and welcome to another roundtable panel on the cause for equality, women spearheading the world of technology. From the previous fireside chat, which I'm thankful for, I think that was just a foundation to what we're about to discuss right now. And if you allow me, I'd love to share some few statistics because I feel this topic is very, very sensitive and we have to demystify something here. According to Statista, women make up 33% of the tech-related workforce. Black women CEOs are paid 38% less than white male CEOs. Another one, 50% of women in tech leave their job before the age of 35. The list goes on, but we're here to talk about that. I am not alone. I have a roster of wonderful panelists who are going to tell us about this cause for equality. What are we going to do about it? What is the way forward? Panelists, I ask you to introduce yourself and kindly brief. I will start with you, Rebecca, and then we will pass it on all the way up to Key. Rebecca, you're welcome.
Amazing. Thanks, Lynn. My name's Rebecca, and I've been working in technology for 5 years now in the immersive technology space, and really happy to be joining this panel today to discuss with everybody about what we can do to make it a safer and more engaging space for women who want to get involved in tech.
We're happy to have you. Thank you. Erila, kindly help me pronounce your name too. Your mic is muted. Kindly unmute. Okay, as Erila figures that out, Delia, over to you. Your mic kindly.
Because somebody muted me, so I didn't know how to do that. Thank you very much. First of all, congratulations on this impeccable organization. I've been so impressed seeing all these panels and gathering here such a great pool of bright women. This is Erila. I am an innovation management expert. I am the chief operation officer of a big certifying body, Global Innovation Management Institute, headquartered in Massachusetts, US. And I am a big supporter of women, very sensitive on gender equity. My whole team is made of women mostly. And I am undertaking right now an initiative of building a network of women on innovation with the main intention to make them more visible and to support each other when it comes to opportunities in this domain. Thank you.
Well, impressive. We want to hear more from you about that. Delia, over to you. Unmute kindly. Kindly unmute. Your mic is muted. We can't hear
yes.
you. Mm-hmm.
Delia Perla. I come from about 20 years of being in some form of tech throughout the last 2 decades. Currently, I'm an SVP for a metaverse company called BizTech. We work with immersive spaces, smart spaces with digital twins. And I'm committed to creating and fostering a network of women and women of color who can find themselves in roles that they traditionally have not found themselves in at later stages of their lives as well.
Well, you're welcome. Elizabeth, over to you. Nice to see you again.
Hello, my name is Elizabeth Aguado. I am based all the way in Lima, Peru, and I'm also an e-resident from Estonia, and I started the Ignite Lab project last year. My focus is on AI ethics and responsible AI. So happy to meet you all.
Happy to meet you too. Dr. Kiana.
Well, hi, everyone. I'm Dr. Kiana Bradshaw. I have been dealing with technology since I was a kid, and I am an AI data science professor. I also do a lot of research in virtual worlds and try to help girls that code and even Black girls code. I've been doing that for like 15 years now. So I really want to help others and get out there, especially females, because we need more females in computer science.
Well, I agree. You're going to tell us more about that. Key Jones, nice to have you back.
Yes, greetings everyone. My name is Key. I am the CEO of Black Girl AI, and I'm all about women. I'm also the founder of Reset, which is a company that helps women overcome and defeat trauma. So, women, I love y'all.
We love you too.
Thank you.
Noy Brooks, I hope I pronounced that right, but correct me if I'm wrong.
You're right, Lynn. It is Noe Brooks. It's a pleasure to be a part of this roundtable. I am a core team member of Disruptor DAO. We're a collective of investors, entrepreneurs, educators, business owners, innovators in the tech space that have come together to disrupt the wealth gap. We do this on three primary pillars: knowledge, that's us learning and expanding the knowledge of our membership in this space; investment in disruptive technology; and developing an abundant mindset. Personally, I'm a digital artist. I have created a series of coloring books called the Meditative Men Collection. It is not for men. It is a series of books that have AI images of Black men that are used as a space for fostering mindfulness and peace and getting in touch with your creativity. I'm also a builder of GPTs for individuals and businesses to help them realize their goals. And again, I'm thrilled to be part of this discussion and looking forward to it.
Well, thank you for being here. Shout out to Disruptor DAO. You have been with us since day one. Shout out to all of you. Over to you, Malik. Correct me if I'm wrong.
That's correct. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here. You can call me Mel. It's a bit hard to pronounce sometimes. So I'm a technical product owner. I'm working in the industry for about like 5 years in blockchain, DeFi, and decentralized applications. I'm also working on zero knowledge development in a couple of companies, and also I'm a member of her DAO. I'm a global steward that aims women to attend more hackathons and spread technological news. And pleasure to be here. Thank you.
We're happy to have you here too. Now, this is me, Linkitao, Communications Director for GatherVerse, and I will be your moderator for this panel. Shall we begin, ladies? All right. So I will also kindly ask you to mute your mics unless you're speaking so that there cannot be feedback. To get started, and I want anyone to jump in on this. What is the current state of gender equality in the technology sector? And where are the most significant gaps? Who would like to go in first? Okay, Noe Brooks, tell us what you think.
So, one of the things that I've noticed is that we've made strides in representation, but the technology sector often focuses on meeting diversity quotas rather than fostering environments where women can thrive. The gaps are most apparent in leadership and decision-making roles, where women still are underrepresented. So it's not just about having women in the room anymore, and we talk a lot about seeing ourselves in the room, but it's about ensuring that our voices are valued and that they're shaping the industry. And one thing I am noticing more myself is that having a woman there, we need to support her. Women need community because being in the room can be a battlefield. And having the support and the fortitude when you are in the room helps you be centered in who you are and what you bring to the table, knowing that you have a powerful community behind you and that you are not alone, even if you are the only person who's there.
I totally agree. Feeling like you're not alone in this and having that sense of backup, I think that's a very, very big pillar. Dr. Kuyana, I see you agreeing to this. I feel like you have something to add to that. Please go.
Yes, absolutely. Because when I looked at some of the statistics, it was like 1% or 0.5%, even at some of the big tech companies. And that's ridiculous for women. So we need more women. I go to tech shows. I'm one of two that are there, especially women of color. I'm the only one there. So that is something that really needs to change. And they're always saying, well, you know, every time when I used to apply to tech companies, we don't have anything in marketing for you. They're not even looking at my technical skills. So they're not even trying to recruit Black women into these type of roles. And that's really worrisome for me, because I try to help other minorities into it, and it's just not enough. It's not. It's really sad.
I can share something too.
Okay.
Can you hear me well?
Yes, loud and clear.
So, yeah, past October, I was taking a course with the Embassy of Canada in Chile about gender and cybersecurity. And so there were cases I can point out some examples, like they thought that because they were giving courses and maybe the assistant was part of it, then that's it. Well, we are helping women, right? But that's not what it is about. And also when some of them would speak to their supervisors, the chiefs, C-suite, and they were like, "But why are you talking about there is no underrepresentation? You are here," and that's kind of. I'm not saying that's gaslighting women, but definitely, like one of our colleagues said, that the decision making process still just formed by a group of men, and that is also an issue.
Well, thank you for adding that. I want to jump into the next question because I feel it also relates to this, and I want to bring you, Rebecca. How has the presence of women in technology evolved over the past decade, and what progress still needs to be made? And anyone can jump in on this too. Rebecca.
Yeah, thank you. So it's actually interesting. Before this panel, I was doing some reading, and it actually looks like the amount of women in the tech space has dropped over the last decade through some research, especially in the kind of director level positions and women in leadership. So actually going back to what the rest of the ladies have been saying about representation of women in leadership, and I think it's really interesting and probably symptomatic of the way that women have been portrayed in the media. I think that has a huge part to play in it. Growing up, watching TV, watching movies, and not seeing women represented in these roles, and on social media, not seeing women represented. And I think that there's a huge amount of progress to be made, and we are seeing it. We're seeing movies and shows and amazing kind of social media tracks with Instagram and TikTok and ladies in STEM and people who are putting themselves out there and representing themselves and being not afraid to share that knowledge and open to kind of discussing with each other. But I think there's a huge part that our community has to play in kind of being visible and being seen as women in tech.
Definitely, I agree. I have been in the media space, and I agree on the fact that how women are portrayed in the media space, especially from the community I came in from, I never saw women being portrayed as innovators or technologists or coders. What I've seen women is doing the supporting roles that we're used to, that our parents were used to, or our great grandparents were used to. And I feel like it's a collective responsibility for the community. It's not only in the tech industry, but also us as a community. And maybe I want to bring in Delia on this, or whoever wants to chime in on this.
Yeah, one thing I wanted to add, and I agree with everything that's been stated, is that even though we can acknowledge that there's been in the last 10 years, just from an education standpoint, there's more women in STEM today than there was 10 years ago, but it doesn't compensate for all the other holes that we still have. I think that the gaps that I see currently is just closing kind of the tech role gap of actually getting women into those roles, which is what Dr. Kwan said. She said, getting actually people into, I just got back from CES in Las Vegas, the technology conference, and it's still even though there's more today than there was 10 years ago at CES, there's still are functioning roles that are not being attained by women who even go through STEM education. I think another gap is addressing the pay disparity. There are still, by a large percentage, women are still being paid less. Women of color even less than that for the same exact roles, same education. And then the last one I would say is just combating the systemic bias that still exists and improving representation in leadership positions. I think those are probably the bigger ones that I see in technology for women, is that even though you might have a role, or even though you might have the education, or maybe you come in for a supported role and then you elevate yourself into a tech role, there's still systemic bias for women today in tech companies. I think there's a lot of growth in the last 10 years, but I think that we have a ways to go in building cultures that promote and hire women in those roles.
I thank you because you've highlighted how far we have come. And no, I see you raising your hands. Perhaps you can add something to that.
Yeah, I want to add to what Delia said. So barriers like unconscious bias and lack of mentorship, and especially in exclusionary culture, persist a lot, especially in the tech space. So women are often penalized for leadership styles that deviate from traditional male-dominated norms. And we can address this by creating mentorship networks, equitable policies, and leadership training that values emotional intelligence and inclusivity. I think us being, again, in the space matters, but we literally have to change the space to fit us and stop trying to fit in a space that is not made and will not change to accommodate us. We have to really flush out that space and make it hospitable.
Thank you. You've even highlighted the previous question on systemic bias, which I felt like we should just move on to the next question. And this goes to you, Key Jones. And how can we inspire young women, especially in underserved areas, to pursue STEM careers? Malika, you can join in, or Erila. But first, Key Jones, we want to hear from you.
Yes, I like that because it refers back to what we do at Black Girl AI. And first and foremost, how we can do that is just by showing up, letting, young girls see people like them, let them know that they can pursue careers in STEM, basically in technology across the board. They can do whatever they put their mind to. And what makes it better is, again, when they see representation of themselves. They be like, okay, if Miss Key could do it and everybody else could do it, then I can do it too. So pretty much just seeing representation. And that's how we can inspire the young girls and other women to pursue careers in STEM.
Yeah, and just to add to what you have said, I encourage even the younger audience that are watching us, as
Absolutely.
these women can do it, you can do it too, or any of your relatives. If these women here can do it, you can do it too. Malika, I want to hear your thoughts on this.
Oh yeah, I definitely agree with Kay. There are some programs like blockchain for social impact, like Hurdle, one of the team member that I've been. We are also targeting that the females underrepresented communities, including women, to participate in real world blockchain projects to have some social impact. So these initiatives not only show young women the potential of blockchain to drive social change, but also provide a platform for them to engage with technology and in an early age. So collaborating each other and showing up is a quite important part, I guess so.
Yeah, and bringing them on in an early age, just like the previous panel had stated. Erila, please bring your thoughts on this too.
Yeah, I think we have explored this topic a lot while we do these panels and speeches. And the issue is how come that women, for example, outperform, or let's say girls outperform boys when they are in the early ages, basically, when it comes to math and science, but by age 16, boys already are 33% more likely to pursue STEM compared to women. And there are many factors out there. It's like, of course, the stereotypes. It seems that parents as well, on the other hand, are more likely to recommend to boys basically to pursue STEM compared to women, and all these are data basically. I think I've seen something when it comes to women, and I saw this also in these panels. There is a tendency to women jumping into a social impact type of work at a certain age, and you see also this from the data. For example, you mentioned yourself, like 50% leave the job, the tech, because it's male dominated, because they experience burnout, because it's a toxic environment, and because they experience all that and they see all the discrimination. I think there is a reason why we have more women in social impact rather than men, and I think they want to, in a way, try to save themselves, right, and to do something about this. So I think, how can we inspire? It's all about early exposure. It's all about educating parents. It's all about having moral models. It's all about visibility. And I would say this for everything: visibility of women doing such great things. It's so difficult for me. We have a forum, for example, we invite experts on innovation to talk about. It's so difficult for me sometimes to find women. I feel ashamed because women don't put themselves out there that much, unfortunately, because of the confidence levels. The imposter syndrome is so, I think, high at women, and I think we need to work on this at early ages.
I totally agree with that. And what you're just saying is like a top up to what has been said, not only on this panel, but even the previous panel, the need for confidence, the need for us women to put ourselves there. And as much as we have these conversations, the more we have these conversations, the more we enlighten each other, and the more we have that courage to go out there. Elizabeth, I want to bring you on this. How can we guarantee women equal access to opportunities and influence decisions in emerging tech fields such as AI and blockchain?
I think it's important to have good connections with the public and private sector to ensure, like, if we're talking about education, or as Erla was mentioning, like talking to the parents, if we're talking about young women. And at the same time, I think the more we step in, I mean, the more we have skin in the game, even though it's going to take time, VCs will also acknowledge more of what we can bring to the table. I don't think we can have a way to guarantee, because the space in itself is risky for everyone. So you also have to take it with with some patience, but definitely to give equal access, you need help from both, from your community and also from governmental organizations, and it's like teamwork, right?
Yeah,
That's what I can say.
Okay. But before I come to you, I think Malika is in blockchain. I want your input in this because I've seen your work in blockchain. Perhaps you can add something to this, and then Noe, you can come in.
Yep, of course. So as Hordao, some of protocols are sponsoring us for support women and encourage them to attend some hackathons, like EAT Global Hackathons, which are the biggest blockchain hackathons that are held in every year. So that's a great opportunity for women to attend, show up, represent, contribute, and so on. I think these kind of companies sponsorships are quite important for just like Stella and Algorand. They are also actively working to reduce gender equation, and they are focused on female developers, researchers, and entrepreneurs as well. So I definitely believe that supporting women has a key role on like contributing on grant programs just to encourage them to show up it can be a playground for them to hack, contribute, so that they can have an experience and then they can enhance their networking opportunities and so on.
Yeah, thank you for highlighting that financial support in terms of grants. I know you wanted to add something. Please do.
Yeah, I just wanted to add that this is an area where we really need allies in power who actively advocate for women's inclusion and participation in decision-making processes. Yeah, we need people there for us, supporting us, getting into the room and stopping gatekeeping.
Yeah, very true. Very true. Rebecca, I want to add you to this next questions. What can schools, communities, and companies do to build a pipeline of women's talent in technology? I know you are in XR, and I know there's a story there, and there's something there. Maybe you can tell us how we can achieve this.
It's a really good question, and I think at the school level, visibility, education, bringing women in to the conversation, getting them to do presentations to the kids, showing them videos, showing them powerful stories of women leaders, people who have been involved in technology, and also explaining their backgrounds and where they've come from and how they've managed to break into tech is quite important. And actually, my background was I was actually a nightclub manager before I got into technology. My background, originally was in film, and I was really struggling in the industry and just finding it really difficult to, the people were quite tough to work with on a level. I didn't feel very confident. I was very full of imposter syndrome and was, I was like, gotta go. And then my interview at the company I work for was, we had a female director who, I didn't know much about the tech at the time, but I was really enthusiastic and I really wanted to do it. And she just cheerleaded. She cheerled the whole thing. She was giving me advice, information. She was really supportive, and she was like, you need to look into things like this, and this is where you should start, and these are the kinds of people you should talk to. And it's part of that community and fostering those connections. And like everyone else here has said today, the network is probably one of the most valuable things I think women have in their toolbox when it comes to equality in the tech space, and also just developing those opportunities and developing women and building them up, And when I see young girls and when they come, I do the trade shows and they'll come to the booth and stuff, I'm there and I'm going, you guys can do this. This is a fun job. It's totally awesome. It's really interesting. I never have a dull moment, and this is something that you can do. And I think it's so important to bring people into those conversations and just openly share that advice. And like you all said, not gatekeeping.
Exactly. And just to take this opportunity to acknowledge the GatherVerse community and the women who just showed up at SHE Summit, amazing women like you. I think this is a very good opportunity to do what just Rebecca has highlighted, connecting and holding each other's hands. Dr. Quiana, you've been in this industry for such a long time. Do you have something to add on this?
Yes, I would encourage to mentor as well as pulling people in, because usually when you have others trying to apply, they're getting a dorm slammed on their face. So I always try to mentor them, pull them in, offer some advice, how I got in, see on what they could bring to the table, and also help them, because there's a lot of gatekeeping. And then, it's really sad that women like, oh, we don't think you're ready for this kind of leadership position. That's immediately because tech is really 55% male. So we have to get that streamlined and get more women in, because that's just, we got the deck stacked up against us all at once. But we really need to, I always try to make it a point to pull someone in and help and mentor them, and not just close the door in their face when they've been trying so hard. So we really do need more women to advocate for others. And the gatekeeping, it's still happening today, but we still need to just pull people in and not really sitting there and thinking about, well, no, give people a chance. Everything is teachable.
Everything is teachable. I agree. Everything is teachable. Key, I want to come to you on this. How does increasing diversity in technology teams lead to better innovation, problem solving for society at large? And anyone who wants to chime in, you're open to do so.
I know I might sound a little biased when I answer this question, but diversity is very important, especially when it comes to us women, because we creative. We're just creative and we can bring a lot to the table. We won't always get that pat on the shoulder telling us, "Oh, good job," but we know we're smart. We're extra smart, and we bring a lot to the table. So we solve a lot of problems. Our help is very much needed. Again, it won't always be verbally said to us, but our help is very much needed. So again, increasing diversity in technology is very, very important because everyone has a skill set to bring to the table. Everyone.
I agree. Ariella, please go.
This is a topic that is very dear to my heart because when we teach on innovation, we say to innovate, you need more dots. And basically, how you get more dots? You get more dots by involving different ethnicities, different backgrounds, and of course, diverse genders, right? So I think this goes without a question that women are half of the global population. Women, according to statistics, women decide for 90% of the major purchasings are decided by women. Where to send the kids for college, which house to buy, and all this. If you don't have basically women in the design process, if you are underestimating their needs, basically, then it's a miss even for the market. And what has happened basically is in some traditional industries, NASA, for example, and all this, the way how they design the uniforms, for example, they design the uniforms for men. And when basically the first astronaut did that, she was not able to fit in the uniform. That happened with firefighters, that happened with policemen and all this. So the tradition has been like that. And usually what has happened since men design for women, what they do usually, we say they either shrink it or pink it, because they are not taking into consideration women needs basically in the design. So I think in particular you had in the previous panel healthcare, right? And that was very important because what we see also in healthcare is such not, I would say, developed when it comes to either diagnostic tools for women, take it pap test or mammograms. They are maybe functionable, but they are not experiential. They hurt a lot. And I don't know if you can use mammograms, for example, for men, like to do testicular scanning. Would they bear that? So I always say there are many things that are happening, but if you are not, if you don't have women on the table when you are designing different products, either those, if those products are for women or for the entire population, that's a big miss.
It's a very big miss. I mean, if women are the most consumers, then why don't women design themselves? It's a very, very important aspect that you brought out that here there. Thank you. Elizabeth, I'm coming to you. What long-term changes are needed in technology companies to create environments where women can thrive at every level and they live? Yeah, please, you might join this conversation as well. And forgive me for butchering your name.
Yeah, so I think I also was talking about this with the ambassador as I finished the course I mentioned previously, that we need to evaluate all the policies and initiatives we're taking to make a difference. We need to evaluate how they're working and not just just thinking, okay, we're doing excellent because we started. For example, if you are giving grants, well, how is that impacting? Like, don't leave it just as something that was a project and you got started, but have someone monitoring and getting feedback from the women that are being part of this. And if we can learn also, I wanted to comment on the last question before this question, and if we can learn from the mistakes that were made maybe in science and healthcare with women, and also, takes some of that to technology, how okay, I guess I'm having some technical problems, so I'm gonna give it to someone else.
Okay, we understand, and thank you for sharing that. I wanted to bring Delia on this. Kindly go.
Yeah, I wanted to add this. I think it's a pipeline issue. I think that when you look at long term, what changes can tech make? In the Bay Area right now, in California, there's a huge initiative to take out DEI, and many companies now are moving towards eliminating it completely. And so there's no longer, at least from my mind, maybe a dependence on that at all. And so I still think that it's a pipeline issue, whether we call it DEI or not. And I think that pipeline needs to start with universities, collaborators like Dr. Bradshaw, who can create capstones with the tech community, giving women real life problems to solve and integrating that into the classroom. So I think that's one area. The other is community, where a lot of people have already mentioned the collaboration of women coming together. I'm involved in many women in tech networking. There's tons available for free that you can join at any time. So I think it is a pipeline issue because those communities of networking give women confidence to actually enter into dialogues with other women in those tech fields to see that it's a viable opportunity for them. So, and then the last one would be mentorship. And I still say that because even though we've all agreed on it, it's been saying all day long, I think that the mentorship is actually what changes women's minds about themselves. I think it's the mentorship of taking that, the way that they think, those focusing on all the reasons why they couldn't get that role or they can't do that tech job, and looking at the opportunity and flipping the switch and looking at it from an opportunistic opportunity to say, why can't you do it? All of the roles that I've had in tech where a man is leading, and I'm not saying that just for me, but for other women that I've worked with or that I know, many of those men are not as capable as some of the women that are in your environment. And many of those men get fired because they're not able to perform. And so women apply for those jobs to fill those roles and they don't get them, even though they are more competent to be able to do that. So I think there's the problem of that can't supersede the opportunity. We still have to keep trying. Tech needs to partner with universities and educational sources to create real life capstones so that women still have opportunities to do hand-on projects and practice. Women need to go out into their neighborhoods, into their communities, network with those people that they don't know, get involved with those networking, get a mentor, reach out to people on LinkedIn. Women want to help women. If you ask a woman any day, anytime, I need 15 minutes of your time just to get your ideas, your point of views, your story of how you got to the role that you're in. People want to help. There's not one time that in my lifetime I've reached out to a woman, that woman has said, no, I don't want to help you succeed in your career. We want to help women. So I think those three things, when we look at long term, is really looking at what we're able to do and what we can do versus focusing on the areas that is not working. The more we focus on the problems, I feel like it actually embeds into our minds and feels like, okay, I'm not going to try because there's just way too many problems. So that's what I would say about long-term
Yeah,
changes.
that was very profound and very deep. Just to echo what you've said, women want to help women. Did we say they are gatekeepers? Yes, but I believe the bigger part of women want to help women. Noi Brooks, please tell us your experience. Do you agree? Tell us what you think.
I love everything that Delia said, especially the on-the-ground examples of what can be done. From my perspective, we've got to dismantle the culture. There is a culture of burnout and competition I mean, I thought Web3 was going to be my savior until I got into Web3 and realized, oh, this is corporate on hyper drugs, because now you don't sleep. You have to keep up with the technology, and nobody even goes to bed on the weekends. So we have got to shift the culture. We are humans embracing technology that is supposed to be supporting us. We're not in competition with the technology. We are at the helm of it. The technology is built on our technology. We are actually the ultimate technology. Our minds are the thing that drives everything. So we've got to figure out how to dismantle the cultures of burnout and competition and replace them with collaboration, like Delia was talking about. Women always want to help women, and having that be the new network. Creating flexibility and well-being, including equitable pay, transparency in promotions, mentorship programs that we've talked about already, and not only accountability at the leadership level, but commitment. And commitment leads to accountability. This is why DEI is gone. There was never commitment behind DEI. It was response to an issue. And now that the issue isn't, in the news, DEI goes. But if we have committed leaders that are going to hold themselves and their companies accountable, like they are to their shareholders, at the leadership level, that prevent discrimination and bias and all of these cultures that lead to women not succeeding, I think then we really have a shot.
I totally agree. We had a fireside chat on day one, and you just echoed what one of our speakers said. For those who are getting rid of the AI project, they never had the commitment for it. They were just reacting or responding to it. And it's quite profound that we can even acknowledge it and we can see it. And here we are discussing it. And maybe just allow me to bring in the online audience who are watching us. I have a comment from Swati. He's saying, I've worked in tech startups on engineering side. Its biases have having to prove ourselves to get the same recognition as men and being paid a lot less. We have Christopher. Shout out to Christopher, founder of GatherVerse. Thank you for bringing us together to express such profound insights. He says most technology platforms never cared about today and fair access for overall betterment for everyone. For them, it's about vanity metrics. They sit and watch summits like this without a single care. That is very strong, Christopher. There's Marie who says yes to collaboration being the new network. Thank you, ladies, and thank you for audience for engaging. And I want to slide to our last question, and I want to hear from everyone briefly. And I will start with you. Where do I start? I will start with you, Key Jones, all the way up. How can mentorship and sponsorship effectively help women advance in technology careers?
It can make a huge difference because we're always looking for that support team, especially from women, from someone that looks like us. We're always looking for it. So mentorship and sponsorship definitely plays a huge factor in helping us advance in our careers.
Thank you for the brief remarks. Now, please tell us what you think about this topic.
Yeah, mentorship empowers us to open doors and be our own advocates, but sponsorship is the gold standard. Somebody opens the door for you and sets the room for you. So you walk in powerfully and are listened to in a different way than if you have to walk into the room yourself and prove yourself. Sponsorship is really where it's at, and anyone who can open the door and sponsor someone is really going to help women move into the leadership roles and own them powerfully and make changes and be able to stay long term and not have to quit because they're fighting against a toxic culture.
This leads me to a question, first of all. What is the difference between sponsorship and mentorship? I once read a book that there's a sponsor, there's one who sponsors you and there's one who mentors you. So if anyone can clearly define that for me and for any audience who is wondering what is the difference between sponsorship and mentorship, please go and tell us. Or Noi, would you like to tell us, or Malika?
From my perspective, mentorship, a mentor helps you navigate challenges. They've been there, you can talk it through with them, and they will help you get to a point where you can navigate through your own challenges. A sponsor is an advocate. A sponsor is somebody who is advocating on your behalf and is there when you're not there, speaking life into you, into what you can do, and letting others know this is who's coming. I'm behind this person, and they've got your back. They both have your back, but they have your back in a way when you're not in the room, they've got your back.
And one thing that I can add over here is that I guess mentorship is kind of like a long-term thing, but sponsorship is not. Most of the time I experience that one, and also mentorship means like expressing and sharing your experience with your mentor, with a mentor and mentee relationship between of it. So I guess I can add this once.
That is very profound.
I would like to add something, and it's also that sometimes your mentorship, it doesn't have to come from women. Like, I think we should be open not to just rely on this women in tech and all these other groups, because sometimes our allies as men, like say Christopher has been really great, a great connection for me. I'm very grateful to him. And, if I isolate myself and only expect women to give me a space, then I think that we wouldn't be fair also. Like, women want to help women, but also men can be great allies, and they can be your mentors and your sponsors.
We need more Christopher Lafayette.
I agree. Dr. Kriana, briefly tell us what you think about this, briefly.
Both mentors and sponsors allow for innovation and creative with whoever they're mentoring and sponsoring. So that's briefly what I would say. They both foster innovation.
Thank you. Arila, what's your parting shot?
I think Noi actually stated very clearly the difference, and I think both are very important, but in particular sponsors. If you are in a company and if you want to break through the glass ceiling, you need a sponsor. A mentor, you can find it also outside and can help you in the same industry, but you need a sponsor to vouch for you, sponsor to help you advance in the career, to raise your salary, to get promoted, and all this. So I think it's very important. I do agree with Elizabeth 100% that there is no gender difference here. A mentor and sponsor can be basically a man as well. But the message for us here is, if we manage to break through the glass ceiling, we can be great sponsors as females, great sponsors for other women, and help them.
Wow, thank you. Delia, what's your brief remark?
Yes, I was just going to say that for me, you do not need to have a deep relationship with a sponsor. It could be someone who really cares about the inequities that are present within their company, and they want women to have an opportunity. I've seen many ally sponsors just give people interviews because they had the credentials, but they weren't getting the interview. And so just to remember that sometimes you can ask someone to be an ally for you in a situation or in a job interview opportunity. And if they have the same values and recognize the inequities that exist, they will help and open the door for you. Mentorship, as people said, it's more a product of the individual barriers, mostly in your head, that you're facing and trying to untangle.
Wow, brilliant. Rebecca, close us off with your brief remark.
Yeah, I think both mentorship and sponsorship are almost like to be considered as well a little bit of a safety net for when that self-doubt creeps in, that imposter syndrome comes in, and you have that support network that you can rely on for someone to, tell you, oh, you're not crazy. This is totally normal. And also just someone to kind of stand on the sidelines and cheer you on and make you feel a little bit more welcome in this space. It's fantastic.
Wow, ladies, We could have gone so far with this, but we only have much time. I enjoyed the time we spent together. Thank you for dropping your insights, your wisdom, and your beautiful time to join us today. We look forward to have you back again. And yeah, over to you, GatherVerse team. Our Gather was well.
How can women create an extra revenue stream to live a life full of joy, freedom, and fulfillment? What if I told you that one of the most powerful ways to get there is by building a personal brand that truly captures who you are, connects deeply with others, and converts that connection into income? And we can do this through the art of visual storytelling. We live in a time where AI is everywhere. It's automating, generating, and helping us to create faster than ever. But with this convenience, there's a downside. Content that become more generic, more robotic, and often it lacks the human touch. This is where visual storytelling becomes so valuable, especially for those of us who want to stand out. Visual storytelling isn't about fancy equipment or big production. It's about capturing your essence, sharing real moments, and allowing others to see the authentic you. And when you create a brand that feels real, relatable, and true to who you are, you're no longer just another face online. You're someone people want to follow, trust, and work with. And when they trust you, they're more likely to buy from you. Now, you may be wondering, why visual storytelling? Why should this be a focus for creating an extra income stream? Here's the thing. AI can't capture your soul. AI can't tell your unique story. And while AI can generate photos and videos, it will never replicate the real, authentic moments that define you. And when you build a brand using visual storytelling, you're not just showing people what you do, you are showing them why you do it and who you are. And this creates an emotional connection, one that AI cannot replicate. And in a crowded AI-driven marketplace, that connection is your superpower. And here are 3 practical tips to build a personal brand that captures, connects, and converts. Let's break down how visual storytelling can lead to that extra revenue stream we are all looking for. Number 1, think of your visual brand as a way to capture your audience attention. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be real. You can use your phone, take behind the scenes photos, share a little glimpse into your life. These authentic moments capture interest because they show the human side of you, not just a polished advertisement version. Okay, number 2, visual storytelling helps to create a connection that goes deeper than just a nice image. People want to see who you are, what you value, and how you think. Show them the real you, the values that drive your work, the vision you have for your business or passion. This authenticity builds trust, and trust is the foundation for attracting paying clients. And number 3, finally, with the right visuals and storytelling, you create a brand that motivates people to take action. When they feel connected to you, they are more likely to reach out, book a call, buy a product, or sign up for your program. This is how visual storytelling transforms into a revenue stream. It allows your brand to do the selling for you. Imagine this, a brand that doesn't just look good, but actually works for you, and a brand that draws people in, builds a community around your story, and opens doors to new opportunities, whether it's clients, collaborations, or additional income streams like online courses, consulting, or speaking engagements. And when your brand captivates, it does the heavy lifting, and your online presence starts attracting the right opportunities, giving you the freedom to choose how and when you work. So as you think about creating that extra revenue stream, remember this. It's not just about what you're selling, it's about who you are and how you share it. Visual storytelling is a way to show the world your beauty inside and out, and to let your authenticity shine in a world that craves real connection. And the art of visual storytelling gives your brand a voice that speaks straight to the hearts of others, capturing attention, connect deeply, and converting effortlessly. And when you build a brand like that, you're not just building income, you're creating a life that aligns with your values, that brings joy, freedom, and fulfillment. One visual, one story at a time.
y a todas. Quiero agradecer el poder tener hoy día esta linda oportunidad de darles una pequeñita charla de 5 minutos para todas ustedes. Así que hoy día yo les quiero conversar o hablar del equilibrio entre las mujeres, entre el trabajo y la carrera. Un desafío tremendo para todas nosotras. Este es un tema que nos afecta mucho a las mujeres como en nuestra sociedad. El hábito de anteponer el trabajo ante la carrera. A lo largo de la vida de nosotras, nos educaron y nos condicionaron para priorizar siempre las responsabilidades laborales, a menudo en desmedro de nuestras aspiraciones profesionales. Desde una edad muy temprana se nos enseña que el trabajo duro y la dedicación son la clave del éxito. Sin embargo, esto puede llevar a una trampa que nos impide avanzar hoy día en nuestras carreras. Nos encontramos atrapadas en rutina, la rutina de cumplir con las obligaciones laborales, dejando poco tiempo, poca energía para invertir en nuestros propios sueños y nuestros propios objetivos profesionales. Esto, además, se ve muy exacerbado por todas las expectativas sociales y familiares que hay en nuestro entorno. A menudo se espera de nosotros las mujeres que asumamos roles de cuidado en el hogar, lo que puede llevarnos a la sensación de que nuestras carreras deben ser absolutamente secundarias. Y a medida que nos vamos dedicando a satisfacer las necesidades de los demás en desmedro de las nuestras, perdemos de vista nuestras propias ambiciones. Y ahí es donde se nos juega este rol que yo les digo que priorizamos lo laboral en vez de nuestra carrera. ¿Cuántas de ustedes han priorizado su carrera? ¿Cuántas de ustedes han planificado? Aquí estoy, aquí quiero llegar y así lo voy a hacer. El camino se puede entrampar, totalmente de acuerdo. Pero hay una guía. Hay una guía que seguir. También es muy importante que cada una de nosotras entienda que nuestras carreras son igualmente importantes que la de nosotros o la de los hombres y que cada uno tiene el derecho y la capacidad de perseguir sus sueños y construir su futuro profesional. Ese futuro que te llene de satisfacción, que te llene de orgullo. El punto acá es cómo lo hacemos, cómo encontramos ese equilibrio, cómo encontramos ese equilibrio entre lo profesional, lo personal, etcétera, o cómo encontramos ese equilibrio en lo laboral. Y es algo que nosotras las mujeres nos cuesta mucho en todo ámbito, que es establecer límites. Hay que reconocer que está bien decir no. Hay ciertas responsabilidades laborales que no nos van a llevar al cumplimiento de nuestras carreras, que las hacemos porque somos profesionales, porque tenemos esa necesidad de agradar al otro, de agradar a nuestro jefe, y pensamos que haciendo esas cosas vamos a lograr nuestro éxito. Pero ese no es el punto. El punto es que nos enfoquemos en lo que nosotros queremos hacer y es dónde queremos llegar. Para ello es muy importante que busquemos también redes de apoyo en nuestra familia, en nuestras comunidades, en nuestros entornos de mujeres poderosas en las que estamos. Porque lo importante acá es que nos empoderemos en priorizar nuestras carreras y nuestras aspiraciones. Para lograr esto es muy importante la autoevaluación. Tenemos que tomarnos un tiempo, tenemos que parar y reflexionar sobre cuáles son nuestras metas, cuáles son nuestros sueños y cómo nos podemos ayudar a dirigir el esfuerzo hacia esto que queremos. No es fácil, lo sé, pero es fundamental. Es fundamental que hoy día lo hagamos. Es fundamental que hoy día cambiemos nuestra forma en la que nos comunicamos, en la que decimos qué es lo que queremos. Debemos planificar nuestra carrera, no ir con el viento a lo que vamos, no. Tenemos que sentir que lo que estamos haciendo hoy día tiene un valor. Y ese valor uno lo siente solo desde dentro. Y no por eso uno se tiene que sentir culpable. Todo lo contrario, tenemos que celebrarlo. Cada paso que nosotros damos en pos de nuestra carrera, en pos de perseguir nuestros sueños, nuestros ideales, no solo nos beneficia a nosotros, beneficia también a las futuras generaciones. No solo lo hagamos por nosotras, sino hagámoslo por dar el ejemplo, por dejar este camino para que las futuras generaciones puedan seguir, que sean futuras generaciones empoderadas, que persigan sus sueños, que persigan esos anhelos de llegar a puestos, el que quieran. El límite es el cielo. Les dejo esta pequeña charla de reflexión para que hoy día hagamos un compromiso, todas las que estamos acá, de perseguir nuestros sueños, de priorizar nuestras carreras, de ser felices. Y con eso no solo nos ayudamos a nosotras, sino que le dejamos un pequeño granito pavimentado también a las futuras mujeres que vienen, que pueden ser sus hijas, sus nietas, las hijas de sus amigas, etc. Muchas gracias por este tiempo. Soy Cecilia Porta, soy desde Chile y quiero decirles que yo fehacientemente creo que podemos avanzar y que yo creo en la experiencia como un motor de desarrollo profesional y personal. Muchas gracias.
Hello, everyone. Hi.
Good afternoon.
Hello. Good afternoon, good morning, good everything and everyone. It's
Good evening. It's about
what time is it there?
9:30 p.m.
So PM. So that puts you in, let me do my math.
Europe.
Yes.
Somewhere in Europe.
How far east? Hello. Hi. Are we waiting for anybody else, or should we introduce ourselves and go into our stories yet? Hello. I'm having to use actually two monitors because my laptop decided to wake up and start flickering at me. So when I look at all of you, I see you in so many multiples when I look straight at the screen. And when I look this way, I look like I'm looking to the side. But that's probably all for auras coming right through at me. Let me just have you, I'm really grateful to be here. I'll circle back to me. I'm Lubna, obviously, but will do my level best to deliver on hosting this the friendly open roundtable with the first time actually many of us or most of us meeting each other. Venus, I'm going to ask you to start with your introduction and what attracts you to GatherVerse and what you would like out of this session or would like to leave out of this to everyone from here. And I think if we see each other in the same order, then Tracy and Maria, Lala, and then we'll see where our conversation takes us. Yeah.
Yeah, sounds good. Well, hello, everyone. My name is Venus Raquel. I am a herbalist and emerging technologist. I'm really into culture, self-sufficiency, and traveling. So I go around the world. I partner with global agriculturists to tell the stories of their harvest, how they use different herbs and different plants in their cultures. So I do that with EthnoTrot, and soon we'll be emerging into extended reality.
Wow.
What brings me to GatherVerse is I actually was connected with Chris back in 2021 through the Black Technology Mentorship Program. So from the pandemic, I just kind of stayed in touch and been following the journey.
I love it. I love it. And I love your name.
Thank you. And nice to meet you all.
Tracy?
Good afternoon. It's nice to be here. Thank you for having me on the panel. I'm currently in Atlanta, Georgia, but I am a diplomat serving in Gabon in West Africa generally. I just happen to be in the States right now. But I am a consultant. My background is a bit unconventional in that I've been in mostly male-dominated fields as a federal agent and then later as the counterterrorism instructor. And I really am drawn to sharing anytime I can with women how important it is to have a voice, to take a seat at the table. And I came to GatherVerse through a platform called Innovation Women, where I'm a public speaker. I really enjoy speaking with women and advocating, especially for the younger generation, to ensure that they have mentors in this space.
Oh my God, I love it. What a treat. What a treat. Maria?
Hi all. Nice to meet you all, and thank you for inviting me today. I'm Maria. I'm co-founder and CEO of a startup called Volhel, and we began our journey about 4 years ago in the metaverse space, and about 2 years ago we shifted into AI, and now we're building this product called Hilda. And I like to say that this is my 9-to-5 job, although for everybody that's been in the startup world knows that this is a 24/7 type of thing. But beside that, in my spare time, which I often try to find, I'm also a career reframing counselor, role in which I help teenagers and people, from teenagers to people in their 50s, to find their career path and change their career in alignment to their true self and their inner authenticity. As Tracy was mentioning before, I also come from a male-dominated world. I used to work a lot in construction and project management. And what brought me here today is actually one of the mentors from the career reframing path. She was also a speaker, I think 2 nights ago. And I just saw this and I found about GatherVerse, and I was like, no, I need to join this this community. So yeah, that's about it. Thank you.
It's such an amazing organic community. It is. A lot of credit to Chris. Okay. I don't want to mess up your name. Effie?
Hello everyone, I'm Ifi Yunan. I'm a product designer by profession, and until last year I branched off and became a founder. So right now I run a startup in the healthcare industry called Kilele Bracelets. So I'm an advocate for women in tech, and coming from a mainly male-dominated background, I try to advocate for women and their spaces in this industry. I mostly work in the intersection between design, product management, and technology, and I focus on creating impactful solutions for underserved communities. Yes, the reason I'm here is because I've been following GatherVerse for a while. Their mission of humanizing technology resonates very strongly with me. So I connected with Christopher a while ago on LinkedIn, and ever since I've been following GatherVerse, and when it came to time to speak at this really impactful summit, I thought, why not? So I'm really looking forward to hearing your perspectives and getting to know your opinion on these very impactful topics. Thank you.
And where are you joining us from?
I'm joining from Nairobi, Kenya.
Kenya, wow, cool. Cool. Jennifer.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, depending on where you are in the Philippines. In the world rather. I'm from the Philippines and it's 3:05, 3:25 a.m. here. And it's such a pleasure to be with you here, ladies. And I'm also looking forward to hearing insights and your perspectives. I am Jennifer, and for the last 18 years, I have worked with multinationals, with matrix organizations, helping them optimize their processes. So my background is in human resources and organization development. However, when the pandemic hit, and I'm pretty sure that most of us, if not all of us, were affected, together with other friends from Canada, South Africa, in the USA, we decided to build our own economy, and we are creating a diversity board game, which is aimed at bridging communication through diversity. And in one of my roles, I am the digital content producer and host of the Disruptors Hour on the new channel. It is an alternative media platform that is available in 17 platforms, including LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram, and others. We deep dive on topics of leadership, change management, and innovation disruption.
Wow. Did you
So my
did you call it a
yes,
game before?
Midna.
Did you call it a game before, or it's a platform though?
Oh yeah. Sorry for the confusion.
No, no
So
confusion. Interesting.
in one of my roles, I am the digital content producer of the Disruptors Hour. So it's a digital platform
Mm.
where we have people from all backgrounds, from different continents and different time zones, where we deep dive on the topics of leadership, innovation, disruption. So I advocate for women telling their own stories in their own words because unfortunately, sometimes some of these stories can be misrepresented. So we want to have people telling their stories in their own words.
Wow. Cool. Thank you. So, um, who's next? Dr. Adetola? Am I saying it right? If you can unmute, or Martha, I think she dropped. Jennifer, you met also Chris through LinkedIn and
Yes, I did. When he invited me to join this GatherVerse Summit, I said, "Oh, I wouldn't pass it up for the world because I want to connect with more women around the world. Because when women connect, we make changes. And I believe that just like the women's suffrage, the movement many years before made a collective impact, GatherVerse is also making a collective impact, connecting. Imagine this one being us being here in one digital space.
it's yes, it's a manifestation of a vision. Judith, maybe can you unmute, or and then Martha after maybe, and then we'll see. Hi.
Yes, it's already evening here, so good evening, and wherever you're connecting from. My name is Judith, and I am a Nigerian, but currently I'm connecting from the UK. So my background has been since the age of 9. I've been into humanitarian service. So that was when I started advocating for children in orphanage homes and trying to kind of support them to have a very livelihood. And afterwards, I had my charity at the age of 19. So we advocate for the girl child and empower women and communities to maximize their full potentials. So coming to GatherVerse this year is quite a long-awaited event for me because, given the topic about women's story, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna be here, share my own perspective, and listening to stories from the diverse world, people connecting from different parts of the world, learning more, and to know how we can incorporate that to what we are doing and how that can influence the policies and advocate more for women out there. Thank you very much.
I love it. I love it. Martha, and then hopefully we'll be able to unmute Dr. at the end. Martha?
Okay, thank you so much. So hi everyone, my name is Martha. I am tuning in from Nairobi, Kenya. It's evening on my end. I hope you are all well. So a brief story about me. I am a data protection and cybersecurity GRC expert. Actually, I am a career transitioner. So I transitioned from risk and compliance. Well, I started out in accounting, forensic accounting, went into risk and compliance, and then now got myself into cybersecurity. And honestly, it feels like I'm finally where I'm supposed to be. It's like I finally made sense of my life. And one thing is that I have been a product of women mentorship. So when Lynn reached out for me to speak here and to be part of telling my story, I was like, yes, definitely. Because one thing about me is that becoming who I am now, changing careers, navigating through, anybody who has changed careers knows how hard it is to navigate as a career transitioner. Women have been so instrumental, and even to date, I'm still under mentorship of women in the tech industry. So I'm so happy to be here and very glad to be meeting you, all of you. Thank you.
Thank you. And super impressive. I have some security background. We'll have to chat on that at some point as well.
Yes, please.
So, last but not least, before I go, can you unmute Dr. Adotola? I'm so hoping to didn't mess up your name. Can you try and unmute, or are we have trouble with your audio? Okay, so a little bit more about me. I'm Lubna Dajani. My educational background is in systems analysis and design and interactive telecommunications. I actually didn't realize how cool of a degree that was because, it was from the 80s. But since I studied Unix as a distributed operating system, it's really distributed systems. And I blame my career on, since we're telling our stories, on either the Jetsons or Tron. I'm not sure which, but I always thought, since I was originally going to be a doctor, since I decided I will help people with their external systems, not their internal systems. And I had this vision, everybody's going to have a computer. I think like Tron and the Jetsons, or maybe like the Jetsons. And when I saw Tron, I was convinced. And when I got introduced to Unix, the whole thing became a reality in my mind. This hyper-connectedness. So I've been writing, talking, and working on all different, across different technologies that were bleeding edge at the time to demonstrate their viability in the market, and then shifted to bringing industries together and players in the market together that needed to come together for this digital realm to come together, like the telcos together with the internet companies, together with the brands, et cetera, and all the agreements, the roaming, the charge, blah, blah, all the plumbing, so to speak. So now I contribute a lot of my time and effort to, I do a lot of coaching, I do a lot of mentoring through whether it's SOS or it's all sorts of investments, accelerators, incubators, and others like grants from the EU. But more importantly, I contribute to several ethical standards in AI, human and in human machine team. We see it starts like blah, blah, blah. So my interest now, in brief, is shifting to how we apply technology to ensure that we reset the trajectory of humanity to one that is of love and kindness, of compassion, of understanding, of all the things that I'm so grateful that all of you are founded in, and it takes that feminine energy. So I'm very grateful to be here. I'm very grateful to be around all of you because I hope that from my point that I want to help everyone make their dream come true, which will make mine come true. And I feel that we can compete to complete each other's work and fill the gaps. So, you know, when I hear, as I'm listening to all of you introduce yourselves, I'm like getting, oh my God, and we can do this. So anybody who wants to carry on further and connecting the dots so that we can actually affect the change that we are more than able to do. And there are enough of us now. And thanks to GatherVerse, enough of us are being brought together where we can actually redirect where we place emphasis and how we measure value in society so that we can achieve everything we're talking about. So with that, I want to know who wants to take the baton from here, because this is about us and this is what I'm putting out to you all. With love and gratitude.
Well, Lubna, thank you. I think what you said about bringing feminine energy to this space, especially as we shape artificial intelligence, it's so important that we feed a perspective of kindness into these tools so that they're respectful and that they have positive examples of the content that's fed into them.
Totally agree. I also think it's an opportunity for us to take a good look at how we're handling ourselves and you know, our own ethos as companies. I mean, what are we teaching? You know, I wonder, do we teach it our economic models, where we play, how are we providing a sound example for where the priorities are? I mean, still fiduciary responsibility is to profitability, yeah? But I think many of you are working for people and planet over profits. How does, Tracy, you said you're a federal agent, right?
Yes, formerly I was.
How do we affect change across our systems? Because if we really want to change the trajectory, we have to change across all systems. You know, tuning, you know, dialing up or down. How do we affect change across our federal systems and governments, for example?
Absolutely. Well, I think it starts with governments and corporations appointing women to positions where they have a voice, they have authority, they're able to hire and mentor other women in that workplace and to affect real change. And you will see this positively. I have a personal example that in Gabon, which tends to be, as many African countries, that there are mostly men in the administration, that the State Department often appoints women as ambassadors to represent the U.S. Embassy and the United States government as an example to show we put women in positions of power.
What can we do to further empower? And this question is to all of you, to further to empower us such that we move from saying it to demonstrating it.
If I may intervene here. So what I'm trying to do in my own space is get more women into tech and into Web3 and blockchain. I advocate a lot for this. So I actually put out in the beginning, I used to put out job description like females used to target and make sure that I get many females on the interview. And then this is on one part. On the other part, on the career coaching part, whenever I meet with women that are telling me that they are looking to shift their career, I also encourage them to look into roles into tech or some roles that now are male dominated. And I always tell them that you don't need to be a developer or to have those technical skills. There's other jobs in the tech industry. So when I came into this role, I came as a project manager. So I didn't have all the tech knowledge. Okay, I put in the work to learn all of that, but you don't have to have it from the start. So just take a leap of faith, do that, go towards those roles, and just be brave, just take a leap of faith. So yeah, this is what I'm doing. I'm trying to encourage also other women to come into this space.
Yes, and it's yes, go ahead.
Oh yeah, I would like to contribute to the conversation. What I think needs to happen in government is we need to rewrite those books, that they're going by. So we have all these policies, and we're often told, oh, this is the way things have been done, as if that's the way they have to be done. So I think we talk about storytelling a little bit in our conversation thus far, sharing our stories as women. I think that storytelling factor will go really far because it's going to evoke emotion in other people to encourage that behavior change. Because as humans, we're empathetic beings. So when there's this sense of understanding, it breeds compassion, a closeness. And now you're like, oh, okay, I get where you're coming from. And now there's unity. So I think if we could find a way to get our message and our stories amplified, like on this stage, like we're doing right now, that can encourage a behavior change within corporations, within government, and, just globally, a whole societal shift.
Yes,
I would like to go.
Yes.
Oh, sorry. So just to add on what Raquel said, I hope I pronounced your name right. Another thing we can also consider is intergenerational mentorship. Okay, we have women who are already in these positions, and definitely it took them time, a lot of work for them to get there. And then we also have now the women who are coming in, technically more of the women who will replace these women, right? The women who are also supposed to take over in a much bigger dimension, bigger than the women who are there before. So having that intergenerational mentorship, we can learn from the women who have been there, from the pioneers, learn from their mistakes, learn from their triumph, learn from the actions that they put in, learn what to change, how to navigate, how to deal with things. So I also think intergenerational mentorship will also go a great deal into creating like a continuation of the work that our pioneers started. Thank you.
Yes, indeed. So I'm hearing you also having a pass it forward kind of a model implemented. So that as we learn and earn, we share with more people.
If I may add to that, I would love to suggest also, I think we focus a lot on mentoring women in the workplace, which is so important, and maybe even college students, high school students, as these women are rising and looking at their careers. But I would say really the respect and kindness that we could teach women could start as early as middle school. If you have the opportunity to go in and speak to young girls at a time where they're so competitive and they can be quite mean to each other, and teach them really young, before they even get into their sort of career path funnel, that if we can just not judge one another as women, to be kind, and there's room for all of us. The competition, one woman rises, we all rise together. It is more important to turn around and help the woman come up the corporate ladder behind you than to be bumping her off the stage,
Yeah, and I'd say I think younger women are experiencing that probably a little bit less. And I can tell you in my time, because I have been in a male-dominated career, and I come from the Middle East in America. I mean, like, talk about having, I tick so many whammy boxes. It's not funny. And I was talking about distributed and innovation. I mean, in the late 80s and 90s, I was completely against the current. So I have all the scars. But I think it's so much better now than it was. But still, we still have a lot of that intergenerational trauma of having been taught to fight against each other, compete for something. And this is, for the man or for the whatever resources. And this is the mindset shift that nobody that it takes that feminine energy to make inside, I believe, which is that we are beings on this earth, on this one earth, and our well-being is in the well-being of each other. And to love each other, we have to love oneself. And I think we have the capacity to make that shift. And if we make that shift, there's enough of us now that can stand to compete, to complete each other's mission, to this place of peaceful, like joy. I mean, being present, and we are in bliss. So this is what we need to do, I think, and I think that's what I'm hearing you all say.
I'm sorry to hear about what you've said, Luvna, the intergenerational trauma you suffered
I
many
mean,
years
I'm
ago,
saying
right?
women suffer intergenerational trauma.
Yes,
All women.
yes. I'm
Remember, it
so
wasn't
sorry to hear.
that women were the property of men, even in the developed world, right? So let's not forget that.
Mhm. And I totally agree with you. We should treat each other with respect, with love, and compassion. And I also agree with Tracy. We need to teach the high schoolers, mid schoolers, how to be supportive of each other. I think that can begin with being relatable. That we have the same struggles, we have the same stories of triumph, hope, and perseverance. And how can we do that? Perhaps by preserving and documenting stories of women who have suffered and who have been able to overcome these struggles. So, how can we do this? By perhaps preserving these stories through documentaries, preserving this through history books. We must acknowledge the sacrifices that they made, and we must also recognize the progress that we are already making and achieving. So many women have impacted history. I'm not very proud of it, but it's only recently that I have watched the movie Hidden Figures. It's the story of three women mathematicians who helped NASA during the space race. So we need more stories like this, because bringing stories like this of powerful women, some of them coming from underprivileged backgrounds, suffering from economic disparities. This, by bringing their stories to light, we honor their contributions and we provide role models for future generations. But then again, we need not be complacent, because again, we as women, like this GatherVerse Summit, where we gather women from different backgrounds, different experiences, we have some insights that we can share to the young ones, to the emerging leaders, so that they too can pave the way to a more loving, more compassionate, more respectful, and truthful future.
I love it. I would only extend that young ones and older. Really, I would eliminate the whole age barrier just for all people, because it's
Can
yeah.
I interject with that?
Yes, please.
Yes, yes. Okay. Good evening. Yes, my name is Dr. Adetola Salao. I apologize. I've been having severe network connectivity issues. So I'm a policymaker in Nigeria, and I in education, and I've been in the education space for over 20 years, over 2 decades now. And yes, I started with working with middle schoolers. So when I was hearing her talk about working with middle schoolers and bringing them up, it reminded me of a time when I was teaching middle school. And I used to make it a deliberate point to celebrate the history months, February Black History Month, talk about Black scientists, Black mathematicians, Women's History Month, March, talk about the well, I went to a female-only college, so it was very easy for me to find a lot of data and stories about women scientists, women historians, women who had achieved a lot of grades. It was really, really easy. And I happened to have a mom who also was a first in our country here. My mom is the first female meteorologist in Nigeria here. So I grew up with someone like that who taught me that there were no barriers and I could do anything and I should push myself. So it was easy to have that. And I wanted to create that space in the classroom. So I agree that we have to do that in the classrooms. But I also believe that each of us too has the, well, I don't know, I think I'll say, as she said, the burden of also helping our young ones, whether when we are at events like this, conferences, when we are speaking to them informally, tell them stories, tell them about your own struggles. Let them see what it had, the trajectory, there you go. Let them see the trajectory you had taken. You'll be amazed how inspiring that will be to these young women. I just wanted to make sure that I put that out there. Thank you.
Can I add on that?
Sure. Sorry.
So I think it's really important for us to be able to tell our own stories, and it's been really empowering because we're in a generation where people are able to tell their own stories to really big audiences using simple tools like a phone. If you have a phone, you have social media, you can really be able to put your story out. So what we can also do is to empower women to be able to tell their stories and to be able to share experiences, because that's one way of making of empowering women in the society. Like I'd say in my country, we've had a recent case of stories going viral, like a lady facing gender-based violence and similar issues. She was able to talk about her experience on a podcast, and the podcast went viral, and lots of people in the country had it. And because of that, other ladies who face gender-based violence are coming out, and people are becoming very aware of what is going on in behind closed doors. And traditionally, these are things that no one would have ever spoken about. These are things that would have been swept under the rug, and no one would have really heard about these stories. But by being able to share every lady's experience, we are able to really advance really quickly, and we are able to support each other as women, because what one person has faced, maybe someone else is facing, and maybe someone else has the knowledge that can really help us solve these social problems. Yeah, that's my take on that.
I wanted to see if this would be a good time for me to interject. I'm sorry that I came late, but I can also wait or just talk in the chat. Okay, good. Hi, I'm so sorry. I completely messed up the time change. I am in Maryland, Baltimore to be specific. I'm so delighted to be here, so gracious to be given this platform. And I always like to start by honoring my late father, who I lost in 2019, who is the reason I do this work. So my name is Chris Locust. My pronouns are they, she, and I humbly and graciously work as the Transition Age Youth Coordinator for On Our Own of Maryland, which is a peer-operated nonprofit that serves all of the folks in Maryland, and we really work to help the helpers. So I myself am somebody with lived experience, and so when you were talking about that, I'm sorry, I can't see your name. It's a little small on my end, but when you were talking about that, that really resonated with me. And so we use that lived experience to support others. And me specifically, I support young adults 18 to 29 to advocate for the type of care they deserve to receive across various systems. And so I pay young adults to be on the panels, to go to the conferences, to be on the committees and the councils. I also have my own council. I pay them to come with me to events, to travel with me. We're actually going to Oregon and New Mexico in February and March. And it is the honor of my life that I get to do this work, that I get to show these young people that there is more than one way to be a leader, that as a queer, non-binary Black person, even if my voice shakes or even if I sweat, even though that happens less often nowadays, I still deserve to be here. And we all do. We all deserve to have our voices heard. And it really, I mean, I cannot say enough amazing things about the young adults that I work with. And I'm so grateful because a lot of this work I don't have to do alone. I always lean into community need and community care and what they need. And so I love that I have real shared decision making, and that I'm able to show them that there are other possibilities. So that is me. I am a public speaker. I do free trainings for all organizations. And I genuinely love what I do. I am on everything. Follow me everywhere, LinkedIn, wherever. I'm also on social media, KRIS_LENAY. That's Chris Lene, where I have finally graciously been able to merge my work life with my personal life. And I've been able to host community drives, events, and really talk about my mantra, which is ease over friction, and allowing us to bring more ease, joy, and comfort into our everyday lives, in every part of our lives, because we deserve it. So thank you all so much. I'm so delighted to meet all of you. I can't wait to connect with you all and bring you in as speakers, because come on, we need this good juju for our young adults. So that is enough for me. Much love to all of you.
Much. Love you. Love what you're doing. It's amazing what we're all doing. I feel like we're all, and very often this, I don't know if you're musicians, I'd say it's like a whole bunch of musicians who are really good at what they do. They're all playing their own tunes on their own, and then somehow we come together and it becomes a jam. And I feel like now we're starting to come together in not just jams, but now we're coming closer and closer. We can make amazing symphonies. When we harmonize our efforts, because I think it feels to me, at least being in this space, that we are definitely all coming from the same heart vibration, which is foundational to being able to make that shift. So I'm grateful for that. I heard so many ideas that we can action after this. From affecting policy change at the policy level to creating a documentary that captures the stories. And I think what I also heard is we'll make that documentary complemented by maybe a book or two, and a program that doesn't only go to high schoolers or adults or corporates, but trickles all the way down to even preschool, and I think even at the very formative years, so from K and pre-K, when the kids are playing, so that we eliminate the need to correct the bad framing we create when we say girls wear pink and boys wear blue, and you play with this and you do that. So it'd be great fun to it seems that amongst ourselves we had all that it takes. I'm super grateful to GatherVerse. I think we're going to be running out of time very soon, so I wanted to make sure that everybody has anything else. I mean, I would love to invite us all to come together and explore collaborations. Myself, I'm working now on a festival that is a summit and a festival around autism and addressing the root causes that affect many other things that are that can be addressed and highlighted through this topic, and across as a transdisciplinary multi-sectoral. So anybody who's interested in the topic, I'm happy to collaborate. And I will love to just ask you each to follow the so I don't have to call out. Just step in and say your closing remark. And I'm really, for me, thank you so much for being here with me. Thank you. And thank you, Chris, for bringing us together. So please go ahead.
Lubna, thank you. It has been a pleasure. I'm so inspired by all of you and your stories and the work that you're doing. And I think the more we can just continue to go out in the world and bring awareness to the challenges that are facing women and trying to affect positive change, it just, the power of one. So we're stronger together. Thank you.
Yes, it's been a pleasure hearing all of your stories and your experiences. Super inspiring. And I just like to give one more sentiment about the youth, and that is gatekeeping does nothing for our youth. When you invest in a young person, you're investing in the future, and them being successful is the return on that investment. So with that, I look forward to connecting with all of you and all of you in the audience. May our gather be well. I think it was.
Thank you for
so
sharing your
much,
stories.
ladies.
Thank you so much. May the light you give to others always find each of you, my friends. Much love to all of you. Oh, that was Chris, by the way. I'm frozen, but it's me.
Okay. Okay. If I can go. So thank you so much, ladies. What I gathered from all your story was definitely resilience and determination. And I think if we can leave something to our audience and future generation is like, let's embrace our challenges, let's always keep and stay curious, and let's bring on the change. So thank you so much for this evening, and I look forward to connecting with you on socials and live, I hope, at other events. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry, I would like to go. I've been just quiet listening to everyone because one thing I know is that storytelling actually humanizes issues and brings the policies to real life. So it was just nice hearing from you all, and it's going to be a very tangible impact, and it's going to influence the work I do so far. So I'm very happy to connect and looking forward to getting more with you. Thank you.
And thank you for having me be a part of this. It has really, really been inspiring. And I have also learned that each of us should make sure we start telling our stories and inspire those who are coming up behind us with our stories. Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor.
So for me, I'd say it's really important for us to be able to tell our stories, because otherwise they'd be just statistics of the struggles and the challenges we are facing. But when we are able to tell our stories, they're able to be contextualized and humanized in a way that fosters empathy and calls people to action. So thank you so much for having me in this panel, and I look forward to connecting with all of you. Thank you.
I think everybody said some, and I'm really yes.
For me, yes, for me, I encourage everyone to continue creating environments, safe spaces, virtual or physical, where women can share their stories without fear of judgment, criticism, or harm. Let's continue helping our children learn digital literacy and online safety now that we are moving from physical to digital. I really learned a lot today, and I thank you, ladies, for sharing all your insights. And I look forward to connecting, learning, and growing with you even after this GatherVerse Summit.
I don't know, but I'm counting on this documentary that's going to have a book alongside of it and all of your faces. This should be the cover right there.
That would be very lovely.
I think that would make sense, no?
Maybe I'll just also give a closing remark.
Yes.
I'm honored to have been part of this gather, and just as Effie has said, let's continue telling our story. Let's have the courage to tell our story, because it's through that women are inspired. And also, let's also rally behind other women and amplify their voices, because as we tell our stories, we are faced with the challenge of our stories being misrepresented or misinterpreted. So as we tell them, as we tell it out to people, let's also rally and amplify the voices of other women. Thank you all. I'm glad to have been here.
Thank you. Thank you all. I think our gather has been more than well, and I think it's the start of something beautiful. Many things that are beautiful. Thank you all for being here, and pass it back to you, Chris, and the fabulous GatherVerse team.
Hello, everyone. I want to begin with a story today. When I was 14, I stood on a beach in my home country, India. What should have been a serene scene was marred by the overwhelming presence of plastic waste, some of it half buried in the sand, and much of it being dragged into the sea. That moment stayed with me, not just as a stark image of environmental degradation, but as a realization of how deeply interconnected we are with our environment. It was this moment that planted the seeds of my work in climate advocacy. Climate change is more than just rising temperatures or melting glaciers. It's a crisis that adversely affects our communities. It aggravates inequality, creates barriers to accessibility, and disrupts education systems, often in ways that we don't immediately recognize. Let me illustrate this with another story. This time about a small village I visited during my work with Climate Conservancy, a nonprofit I founded to promote climate education. In this village, severe floods caused by erratic rainfall had destroyed schools. Children who were once eager learners had to walk miles to makeshift classrooms, or worse, had to drop out altogether. Their dreams of education washed away with the floodwaters. Climate change, in this instance, wasn't just an environmental issue, it was an educational and equality crisis. But this isn't just happening in one village or one country. Across the world, marginalized communities bear the brunt of climate change. Rising sea levels displace families, making access to schools, healthcare, and basic infrastructure a distant dream. Heat waves disproportionately affect those with disabilities who rely on accessible transit systems that may not function well in extreme weather conditions. And women, especially in the global south, face disproportionate challenges from increased caregiving responsibilities during disasters to unequal access to resources that could help them adapt. The silver lining, however, is that community development and climate action are deeply intersectional. When communities come together to address climate challenges, they can create solutions that not only mitigate environmental impacts, but also build a fairer, more accessible, and more equitable society. For example, I've seen youth led climate educational programs in rural areas transform not just the way students think about sustainability, but also the opportunities available to them. These programs teach young people how to innovate with renewable energy, create sustainable livelihoods, and advocate for their own futures. Accessible technology is another powerful tool in this journey. I've worked with groups that provide solar powered learning kits to remote villages, allowing children to continue their education despite power outages caused by climate disasters. These are small but impactful, tangible steps towards building resilient communities that prioritize both people and the planet. So, what can we do individually and collectively to turn the tide? First, we must invest in climate education because knowledge is power, and when young people understand the stakes, they often become the most powerful advocates for change. Secondly, we need to design solutions that are inclusive and accessible. Whether it's urban planning that accounts for extreme weather or educational programs that reach displaced populations, inclusivity must be at the heart of our efforts. And then finally, we must advocate for policies that prioritize the most vulnerable populations. Climate change isn't just a scientific issue, it's also a social justice issue. And justice means ensuring that no one is left behind. As I wrap up, I want to leave you with this thought: climate change doesn't have to divide us. Instead, it can unite us in a shared mission to create a world where education, accessibility, and equality are not privileges but rights. Human rights that every person, regardless of where they live, can enjoy. Thank you.
Hello and welcome. I'm Dr. Linda Bing, speaker, coach, author, and CEO of Turning Point Leadership Group. I'd like to speak with you about a powerful concept that can transform how we view and uplift women. It's the concept of intersectionality, a term coined by scholar Kimberly Crenshaw. Intersectionality describes how different aspects of a person's identity, such as race, gender, class, etc., intersect to shape their experiences. These intersections often amplify challenges, but they also offer unique strengths. One challenge is identifying the source of oppressive behavior. Is it gender, age, or something else? One strength is that it creates unique perspectives that can only come from the intersection of the variables in question. By unpacking intersectionality, we create space for every woman's voice to be heard, valued, and empowered. Intersectionality acknowledges that women are not a single, uniform identity absent individual complexities. Each woman contains individual diversity. A Black woman's experiences differ from those of a Latina, Asian, or white woman, and those experiences shift even further when factors like age, sexual orientation, or disability come into play. To deny that there are differences with respect to personal demographics is failure to see the entire woman for who she really is. Recognizing these overlapping identities helps us understand that equity doesn't mean treating everyone the same. It means addressing specific barriers so everyone has an equal chance to thrive. It might include training or equipment to level the playing field so that every woman begins from the same starting point. Then, and only then, does each woman have an equal opportunity to win. Intersectionality matters. Crenshaw explained it by saying, we might have to broaden our scope of how we think about where women are vulnerable because different things make different women vulnerable. Without a broader perspective, we create a system where only some women benefit, leaving other women behind. When we understand the complexities of intersectionality, we open the door to truly inclusive empowerment. Every woman's voice matters because diversity of experiences enriches our understanding and our collective strength. Feminist Audre Lorde said, if intersecting identities among women are dismissed, then intersecting oppressions that accompany them are ignored as well. And I would add that the innovations birthed by intersectionality would not exist either. Consider the beauty industry worth over $600 billion. Jessie T. Pope, a Black female inventor, is credited with creating the thermostatically controlled curling iron while working as a beautician in Detroit. That device, used by women across ethnicities, would likely not have been invented were it not for the unique perspective of a Black woman who needed it for herself and her clients. I became personally familiar with this concept and the associated feelings at the young age of 17 during a summer program for incoming college freshmen of color at my predominantly white women's college. During the program, we were asked which aspect of our identity defined us the most, our ethnicity or our gender. Most people never have to dissect themselves in that way, and especially not at 17 years of age. That drove home for me the point that initiatives for women might do little to impact my life as a Black woman, and the feminist movement bears evidence to that fact. Many women's initiatives only benefit heterosexual, white, able-bodied women. So how do we unpack intersectionality? First, we listen without judgment. Creating safe spaces for women to share their unique stories is essential. Second, we act. Policies, mentorship programs, and leadership development must include the needs of all women, addressing the complexities of their identity, especially for women from historically marginalized groups. Third, we amplify. Use your platform to highlight voices that are often overlooked. When one woman rises, she opens the path for others to follow. In closing, empowering every woman's voice requires us to embrace intersectionality as a guiding principle. It challenges us to move beyond surface level inclusion and dive deeper into meaningful equity. It reveals more of the unconscious biases that many people have become so good at denying. Together, we can create a world where every woman, regardless of her age, class, or identity, has the opportunity to speak, to lead, and to thrive. Let's commit to this journey because when we empower every voice, we strengthen the collective harmony of all. Thank you.
GatherVerse SHE Summit 2025 is complete. We're very happy that you dedicated your precious time that you will never get back to join us. Even if you spend a second, or even you spend it 3 days with us, we are thankful. As we conclude, I want to urge you, kindly reflect on every insight that has been given to you. A lot has been shared, a lot has been said, stories were shared, and it was very insightful. And we enjoyed every moment that we spent with you, our dear speakers, our audience, our GatherVerse community. We're very, very grateful. I also want to thank our GatherVerse team, a team that has dedicated themselves wholly to ensure that this process has been smooth and that you have expressed from the depth of your hearts. More to that, this is not the end. We just begun. We have more gathers coming in the future, and we're excited to see you once again. Join us in our community, GatherVerse.org, to find out more about our future events and kindly connect with our community members. Thank you so much. Our gather was well. This was SHE Summit 2025. Bye.
She sewed my new blue jeans. My father was a gambling man down in New Orleans. Now the only thing a gambler needs is a suitcase and a trunk. And the only time he's satisfied is when he's on a drug. Oh, mothers, tell your children not to do what I have done. Spend your lives in sin and misery in the house of the rising sun. Well, I got one foot on the platform, the other foot on the trail. Going back to New Orleans to wear that ball and chain. Well, there is a house in New Orleans they call the Rising Sun, and it's been the ruin of many a poor boy. And God, I know